What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Oh my god, I'm so warm. And also we are very, we're not late. I showed up on time, but mentally spent. Barely made it, but I still got in the door, essentially. So we're here, baby, checking out Wuthering Wave. Never seen this before. I've seen people react to it and say, holy shit, although I've been saying that since the first time we saw this. It's like a more skill-based Genshin, it seems like, but also I like the way that you can, your characters persist as you swap to them, use their abilities, and they kind of like hang out for a little bit. Makes you feel like you're actually playing like a team or a squadron, rather than just feeling like you're some sort of weird soul binding to random people and ripping them into the world at a moment. Anyways, regardless, it looks clean. All right, it looks clean. Now, to me, it'd be cool to have Genshin, which is like the appetizer. You know what I mean? What is it called? Tower Fantasy to be like the absolute buffet. You know what I mean? Just so much. But nothing's as sharp necessarily. Although I would say otherwise. But anyways, regardless, but Wuthering Wave seems like where it's going to be fucking tight as hell. It's going to sharpen up everything. It seems like the combat, the parrying, everything is going to become intrinsic into how you're playing. The way you're switching to characters and whatnot seems way more Dark Soulsy. This seems way more lit and fucking like balls to the walls too much. And yeah. Lone Syndicate says, what's up, Grin? Sorry I'm late. I was about to say, you always come for me being a minute late. You are precisely 3, okay? Fucking 3. No, I don't expect anyone to be here, but I do appreciate you popping in, buddy. How are you? How has your day been? How did you guys enjoy the hasty upload of the one video? Because I got caught up reviewing things, not the book, surprisingly, and I couldn't make the thumbnail on time, and I was like, ah! Also, man, it is so much more easy to make a thumbnail and like a title. Well, the title wasn't that good, but it's so much easier making a title and a thumbnail for Share or Grin, which is like, oh, I watched an entire fucking anime and I condensed it down into like 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And then I just grab a screenshot, I make it so that like, oh, it's somewhat intriguing. Like, oh, the evil NPC main character. And it's like, oh, what's that? That's weird. Same thing with like a boy with unlimited magic. Easy. Like you get a little bit of information, but it's also curious. Bang. When it comes to these Tower of Fantasy videos where it's like wormhole, you're like, yeah, what is there? There's a wormhole. We're gonna go do it. And it's a kind of a nightmare. It's just like, ugh. Anyways, but yeah. How has your day been, Bolty? How's your day been, Lone Syndicate? Lone Syndicate says, how are you, Grin? I'm doing quite well. Best part of my day was we went for a drive, and I got to iron that out a little bit because I haven't done it in a hot minute. I have been too obsessed with other things. You guys know that those things at this point. But yes, I want to I did a drive, so I didn't, for those guys who've watched certain videos, didn't build up the dragon again to be horrible. Although I still need to just be like, I still need to just do it by my lonesome. I still feel like it's nice. I always, when you like, you can do something by yourself, but your subconscious brain always like says, well, we could just like go for a drive with a friend or with like a parent or like with a brother or something. So your brain will always like try to like conveniently be like, well, wait, we could ask them if they want to go to the grocery store. So if there is any sort of fucked up weird thing, we can ask them if we're doing something right or wrong. And it's like you're lying to yourself, you're cheating yourself. It's like you could go all in, but instead you're still tiptoeing. You know what I mean? I have a tendency to do that. I'm getting better about being like, wait, no, I'm coddling myself in a way, but yeah. Lone Zigga says, my day was good. I watched your should you watch the Dawn Witch video, and and everything you said, I figured you'd say. Yeah, I kind of, man, how do you feel about that from two minds? A strategist, grindy fucking try hard YouTuber versus a good streamer, maybe. I don't know who would else do this, but I feel like I do that too much, where I always, like, I'm excited and I talked about a video and I made a video, so I have like a proper understanding of what I want to say because I've already said it in a video. But when I'm streaming, when there's like a lull, I'm like, so I made this video and man, I'm not sure how you guys feel, and I'll just and I basically I'll redo the video, but worse. But then I also am subtracting to the video that's good. So yeah, I don't know, man, it's rough because I don't know, part of me, I want to talk about anything, but I also worry it subtracts from the video because we do tread ground kind of in the same area. I need to get better about like lopping something off and being like, all right, this is for the video. This is for the stream. They're different worlds. I can refer to things, tease stuff out, but not give the big pooba. You know what I mean? But sometimes there's lulls in streams and my anxiety spikes and I think, I gotta say something. And I think, why? You fucking just relax, man. Although, ladies and gentlemen, my lovely people, my friends, people across the pond, all of that, I will be depending on you this stream to bring any sort of conversation here because I have not prepped. Usually I have like a notes in my phone to be like, just in case you get to like, and I've never said a word in my entire life kind of mindset. And you're like, I have topics that I write down. I didn't bring shit. We are out pissing in the wind today. It's rough. Lone Syndicate says, also, I'm about to finish Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Lone Syndicate, I would assume you are a fan of the entire series of Ratchet & Clank. I stopped... How do I put it this? After they dealt with, like, the big question of, like, Ratchet and the Lombax saga and, like, his people and all these things, I felt like it was hard for them to, like, reignite me in a big way. Like, I've always loved the Ratchet & Clank formula of combat, like weapons that are evolving. Like I loved in the newest game that I played, you had like this weird punch gauntlet that you basically had this like weird void serpent on your hand, and then you would do like a right hook, and then you would just fucking this void serpent would just tear through everything. It felt great. What's this thing? Why are you surprised Pikachu and me? What was that? Also, it is so damn hot, man. Oof. Whew. But yeah, I'm basically asking you the question of, when did you feel, or in this new Ratchet and Clank game, does it reinvest you into the world? Because I know they brought the waifu Lombax. Is that developed in the game, or is it in the same way that most Ratchet and Clank games are developed, which is like, there may be a couple cute moments where like they end up in each other's arms and they're like, oh, yikes, sorry. But then nothing else. Fucking nothing else at the end of anything. Or do they go back to the rift, so they're literally a rift apart? I don't know. I don't know. I basically love the Ratchet and Clank series, but after they did the Lombax saga, personally as a viewer, I felt quite like they haven't pulled me back into another hook, another like epilogue, another thing, you know? But also, it's just a fun game, but the story does seem like to be such an intrinsic part of the entire game. It seems like they make so many sacrifices for story in that game rather than gameplay. But the grand gameplay they do have is tight, so yeah. Also, I have not done any, and I mean any, Tower Fantasy today, so ooh boy, gonna be behind. Also, I'm gonna spam upload you share grins, by the way, which is probably not good, not a good idea, but yeah, yes. Lone Syndicate says, well, for me personally, you could about a video as a whole. For me personally, you could about the video as a whole, detail for detail, and I would still watch the video after. I know, Lone Syndicate, but Lone Syndicate, if I could break down your mental scape essentially, and be like, okay, like, because I feel like I should break down you as a viewer and just ask you a bunch of questions and take notes like a therapist for a while. And then be like, okay, and you have like, I don't know what I just did, but I'm happy to be a part of it. And then you would go separate ways, and I just tracked every single part of you. Then I'm like, hey, we're gonna find more Lone Syndicates in the world, more bolties, more fluffs, okay? But it's probably not that easy. You probably need to make something that those people find genuinely interesting, and then bleed them back to the stream. But yes, also, in Wuthering Waves, people are popping off with this gameplay. It looks like sharper than what we've seen, but yeah, I don't know. Like I thought I'd be seeing some like crazier shit, but it still just looks like awesome stuff that we've seen. Also, I had something we could talk about. Have you guys seen the Rockstar leaks? I haven't. I'm just curious about anyone who wants to tease a little bit of stuff that they saw from it. Apparently Rockstar got like fucking blitzkrieged by some hacker person. And apparently 2K is relentless with just talking about any, or like releasing any leaks. Like they'll sue the shit out you and twist the knife, like it's brutal. But yeah, apparently the new Rockstar game, GTA 6 or whatever it is gonna be out. I don't know, man. To me, as much as I do think GTA was a great game, the online, it's always, to me, it feels, I'm not sure if you guys feel this way as well. I feel like for a lot of people, it's like, if there is a certain level of enjoyment, I could accept whatever kind of monetary yank that's constantly being yanked. But to me, like in this kind of the way I felt in some ways in Genshin, but in regards to Rockstar as well, where like I feel like instead of like taking some of the money, the copious amounts of money that they were making, like reinvesting it whole hog into the game, and they did do a good bit of that, but just not to the extent to which I felt like it validated the like months of grinding millions of dollars. At least that's what it seemed like, just to be able to buy one of these supercars. You know what I mean? Or one of these items. So like the new content was basically so highly priced that you would have to buy what's called shark cards, essentially, which is like millions of dollars. And that felt weird, especially when like the game was making billions of dollars, like it's so much money. I mean, not billions, but millions of dollars every consecutive week. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I'm not sure if everyone else has that, but I'm sure if people are like, I'm having fun with the game, it's fine. But I feel like there's always a line where it's like, if you as a consumer don't feel like you are paying something worth the money, like you're constantly getting updates that feel like they're not only to validate you spending money, then that kind of feel weird, you know? At least that's how I feel sometimes. But I'm wondering if it's just me, basically. Lone Syndicate says, well, Rivet, she is a well-developed character, her being a Ratchet dimensional counterpart. Although they share characteristics, the core of their personalities are very different. While Ratchet is more trusting in others, and willing to work alongside them, Rivet is the opposite and is more hesitant and trust others, and is why she works almost alone most of the time. Gotcha. Interesting. I wonder if the whole takeaway of the game might be that Ratchet would have probably ended up the same way if he'd never had Clank. I guess not, because no, I think there is a counterpart for it, because I think Ratchet and her basically just switch places, and there is a Clank in her world and a Ratchet, and that's maybe how you're getting insight too. Maybe like the bot's telling the new Ratchet dimensional person, like, yeah, mine's way less trustworthy or trusting, I should say. I wonder if that'd be like some sort of weird self-cess thing, though. If they are like the counterparts exactly, then yikes. Volty says, my day was kinda tiring, even though I was basically doing nothing. I was visiting someone with my family, ended up watching Edgerunner together till we had to leave. Whew. Again, to be precise. Yeah. So you watched the entire. I know what you're saying. Yeah. So I'm not sure, man. You just finished watching. You're watching it all again. That's rough. Even if the show is great, that's still pretty hard to do. Yeah, man. I understand that when it comes to like, there's different types of exhaustion, especially now that you're getting after it and working out a lot, Bolty, as well as Lone Syndicate. There's like a different level to like being physically exhausted and then just being mentally just destroyed. And it's funny because there's like different levels of mental. Like there's like focus depletion where you're just like, I feel stupid. I feel it's like really hard to maintain focus, and then you're not like some sort of ADHD thing necessarily. But there's that kind of tired. There's the kind of tired where like you're socially depleted, like you just don't want to be around anybody. And then there's like what is kind of connected to, I think, both of those, which is just your mental energy itself. I feel like if you tax one, eventually the other ones are also going to come down, you know what I mean? But yeah, little bit rough. My introvert powers has come to an end. You're introvert? You're introvert? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, your power stockhold of introvert energy, social energy. Gone. Yeah, it's funny, man, because so many people don't understand that as well, that it's like, well, we're not talking. It's like, nah, that's not how it works. It's just being in the presence of human beings. It's like, my soul. And it's funny because, again, it's not like, it doesn't, if anything, it's a testament to how much probably introverts enjoy human beings and care about people, because of the fact that like it is so draining and you still put yourself out there to be there around people, you know what I mean? Not to like fucking gas ourselves up too much, but yeah. One thing it says, it wasn't until she met Clank and then got to know each other that she started to open up. Interesting. Is is it like resonating? Because for me, as a person who would play those kinds of games, especially if the character, basically to me, it'd be like going. I feel like I would just want to play Ratchet. Basically my conclusion that I'm thinking of is like I'd be playing the game. And I'm sure the new character is great, but if she's kind of like they always do this shit too within games, and maybe it's done incredibly well. Lance will have to tell us. But in the new Ratchet game, where you're playing as Ratchet and this female protagonist as well, I find like nobody writes a female protagonist properly at all. It's like they take the worst aspects of male power, essentially, or whatever you want to call it, and then just radicalize it. Like they take like ego and like. Which also exists within women, but it seems like in my experience, my specific lived-in experience, it seems like men have a proclivity for those things more. But it's like, let's take all of like the ego, the overconfidence, the like conquer, and like the like lack of other people's state and devour gain, essentially. They like, let's make that a character, and then most people are like, this is kind of just gross. And it's gross in almost every sense, even in the dude character. That's why most hero types aren't like overly consumed by ego, but almost every like counterpart female protagonist oftentimes it seems like it does that. And if it doesn't do that, unfortunately, they're just really tropey. And again, there's always tropiness within me, like, you know, the main protagonist as well. But I find it's, in the male protagonist, it tends to be like, this dude is awesome, but maybe doesn't believe he's that awesome kind of idea. And instead of doing literally that, but with a woman, instead they're like, no, she's like a fucking rough and tumble. She's gonna outthink you, outsmart you, outgrind you. And it's like, this is the one part of culture of dudes I'm not entirely in love with. You know what I mean? It feels, yeah. But yeah, I'm sure they do a good job about like eventually unveiling her, because again, what do you call it, the people, Insomniac or whoever makes it, not Insomniac, I forget their name, but yeah, people who make Ratchet and Clank seem to have a pretty good read on those things. Also, is that one of the new characters? He looks clean as hell, dude. Big ass katana. What does that do for you, Lone Syndicate? Anything? Because I know you like that big ass katana blade like me. I think you like the Orodachi, and I like the horse cutter sword, which is kind of similar but different. But yeah, I think the Orodachi has a curve, and then and mine has just like a fucking giant thing with a giant handle, and it's a little bit shorter. It's not quite as long as of a handle. But yeah, Booty says, I ended up buying the Advanced Pass again in Tower of Fantasy, and really want to get 3-star Saki. Okay, so what was that? I seen something like that, Bolty. Do we have confirmation on who's coming next now? Because I seen in a thumbnail that it showed like a character that I thought, is that who we're getting next, man? So it's not Ruby, and it's not Cobalt. It's this weird, like, it looks like in Genshin, what's her name? She's like the Chinese opera singer. And it looks like her, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of like, oh, I wanted my fire people. God damn it. Also, because I've been traveling so much uptown today, I'm dehydrated as hell. You know what I think is bullshit, by the way? We just came from a beautiful party. My brother, been grinding for years, bought an absolute gorgeous house with a beautiful yard, and oh my god, dude. Like it's like an acreage, so it's not just like a yard, it's like a whole fucking ass, like acres, basically. But because it's fall right now in Canada, it is gorgeous, man. It's just breathtaking. Like, and it's just the right amount of size where like you're basically like, you got a bunch of distance from the world. You're like, back up. I need this. Okay. And it's just clean looking. But what do you call it? At the party that is my niece's going on right now, which was where I was. That's why I wasn't late, but I ran in, I hit record, and I was like, and then I did it. Oh yeah, above my chest. Above my chest. They had these fucking giant ass hot dogs. Like fucking looked like, you know, it's huge. And I always thought, why? The bun to hot dog ratio is perfect. You don't want more hot dog bun. I've never thought, yes, I want more hot dog bun, or more hot dog and less bun. It's stupid. Anyways, Side thing. I seen it and I thought, what the fuck is this? Also, free food. So, who can really complain? But yeah. Bodhi says, there is no confirmation. I have looked into these videos and they also know to be exact. Wait, there is no confirmation. I have looked into these videos and they also don't know how to be exact. Okay, gotcha. So they're like, this is a possibility. I'd be fucking peeved if it's not, it has to be Cobalt B though, right? Well, no, because is it following the exact formula of the update strategy of, what's her name? Claudia? I thought that was right. Because I thought people were saying like long after Frigg, people said it's going to be Claudia, then it's going to be this, and then it's going to be that. So the people who are like right about that, I feel like have a higher probability about being right about the next character. And I thought they were like, it's going to be Claudia, then it's going to be Cobalt B, and then who knows? And I could see maybe being Ruby just to kind of have a really strong back-to-back banner because it depends. The big question for Ruby and Cobalt B is if they are both going to have the resonance or if one of them are going to have the resonance. Ideally, it'd be great if Ruby, because she is already kind of a support she's not a support, but she's a CC character. She's a CC character with single target damage focus on her stuff. And Cobalt is like a mass AoE applier. So it'd be cool to see that Ruby gets the resonance and Cobalt gets just maybe some higher scaling damage abilities. Or something like that. That'd be cool if we could see that. But yeah. Lone Siggin says, yes, there is Clank counterpart as well as her name is Kit. And similar to Clank, the characters are very similar, but the core is what contrasts them. Kit's a war bot. That's awesome. A war robot sees herself as a tool of destruction. Let's go! Wonder if you'll get that reference. Yeah, of course I get that reference. What do you mean? Yes. What do you call it? I still think up the arsenal is the the best. Which, by the way, like up in your guns, not up on your and she doesn't want to hurt anyone and throw herself into isolation among the monks, saying to Ratchet that she wouldn't make a great partner and isn't a unit. Kit and Ratchet team up and Kit starts to see the joy of being around someone. Interesting. Weird also. So the one girl is isolated and she also has a bot that's very isolated as well, wants to be secluded. I thought it would go the opposite. I thought it would be like a character that is like the definition of a war bot. A character with the personality of like a gung-ho war veteran lady, like fire off, let's do this, let's wreck, you can do this, let's break through, let's punch through the barricade. But she doesn't have that much like power behind her. And then you have Clank, who's like the most mild-mannered nuke, essentially. He's like an absolute ion cannon of destruction, but he's like the most tempered, like, I don't want to do violence, but yet he has the most like absurd bullshit he can do and like become a bomb essentially and craziness. But interesting. I like that story though too. Yeah, it definitely seems like the narrative was not as linear as I thought it might be. Yeah, which is good. Yeah, but then again, no, I think the previous Ratchet and Clank games have been pretty like you could kind of course correct, like, oh, Ratchet and Clank are gonna come together at the end. At the end of this game, most likely they're gonna seal the rifts. They're gonna go their separate ways, having learned a little bit about each other. But we're probably never gonna hear about these characters ever again. Sad. I don't know. I always prefer serialized content, a world that moves forward rather than a world that's just like, and it was all a dream, or it didn't even matter that it happened. And I'm like, wow, it feels so unsatisfactory, at least to me. I haven't heard one person be like, let's go. And nothing mattered. Bodhi says, but Ruby has a high likelihood since she was there in 2.0 launch in CN. Okay. Yeah, I've been hearing stuff about that, Bodhi. When is the plan for like in 6 months for us to basically be caught up so that when the new big region drops, the 2.0 update, we're like on the same playing field at that point? Is that also why people are saying like at the 6 month mark is when the characters will be introduced to the standard banner? But it sounds like that 2.0 is happening faster than I think. Or maybe the CGN was not at 2.0, which is why I'm under the conception of maybe they're at 3.0 or something. All I know is it's a desert area, I thought. And as a guideline for you, Ruby 0 star is good enough, but her 1 star adds cooldown reduction. What kind of reduction is it, Bolty? Because like to me, what is it like her focus charge? So like, is it like a stamina decrease? Because what's being decreased? Because she does have this ability where she basically like scatters out a bunch of orbs, and then I think they just connect to each other and fucking blitzkrieg everything. Is that what it is? So what, you can just spam the shit out of that in its perfect rotation otherwise? That's kind of huge. I don't know, man. But a part of me wants to go in deep, but the other part of me is like, but what if them fuckers? And I could totally see them do it. Because I think what would make strategic sense, but may not be what they do, but would make sense to me at least, would, okay, let's, instead of release Cobalt, we're going to give Ruby the resonance and not have it on Cobalt. So, and they're going to overlap these two banners, Cobalt and Ruby, which is great because they're both fire. One, Ruby, is resonating fire, and Cobalt maybe has like amplified scaling. So she's just a little bit better of a DPS, but nothing crazy. Or maybe she just has better AoE or whatever, something. Or maybe she's just Cobalt because Cobalt looks great and also does good AoE damage. So she's just the character that people want. Maybe if they do them back to back, then that way, then maybe we'll feed into each other. Or maybe it'll justify like, oh, I got Ruby. Fuck, I guess I should go for Cobalt too because she resonates fire. Here's an amazing fire AoE DPS. Let's go. Would you define Bolty though? Ruby more of a character that is a single target DPS? Because that's my understanding. What she does have some AoE abilities. It just seems like her hold charge is just like a laser beam that just goes. Like I remember I seen a video of it, which maybe it's gotten scaled down because yeah, they talked about power creep and how she came out I think later, so power creep was a big thing. But there was a video that showed a person basically like doing all of her attacks, and it was like a couple million. But then it was like 8K or something on the charge shot that was like, and you could, if the enemy didn't have the shield up, it'd just melt him, I think. Although there is resistances, so that might play by ear. But even still, I think a fire rate character would probably be better for stuff like that. Lone Snicket says, during the story, Rivet tells... Oh, that's funny. Ratchet and Rivet. That's funny. I never put that together. Rivet tells the story of how a warbot took... Or maybe Rivet is... Oh, no. Rivet and Clank. That makes more sense. So a story of how a war robot took and ripped off her arm. And later, it isn't until Kit transforms into her giant war robot self that Rivet is like it was you, and I created a sort of distrust and conflict, but Rivet, seeing grown as a character, still wants to save Kit after she is captured. Okay, so Rivet is the robot who lost her arm in battle. I think that's what happened. So the robot ripped off a person's arm. Or maybe that's what it is. I think maybe I'm getting mixed up. Okay, let me see. Maybe this is right. So the warbot was basically like, does the main Ratchet equivalent, like other Lombax, is she missing an arm, or are we talking about the robot? I didn't know the names attached to them. Okay, yeah. So I think that's what it is. I think the female Lombax counterpart is missing an arm. She got her arm ripped off somehow by a warbot, and she later finds out that that's Rivet, or that she later finds out that that's the robot. But were they together? Is that a thing, Lone Syndicate? So were the robot and her like connected, like Clank and Ratchet, or no? Because you say they're both isolated, so I wonder if they're kind of like just loners, and that's where they kind of exist in, or if they're like, no, we're not connected at all. They're kind of just maybe slightly in the same area. Yep. For the moment you see Rivet, she is missing her arm, and it's in place of a robot. Oh, gotcha. I didn't notice that. Okay, gotcha. So, but is the relationship between female Lombax and the robot counterpart, is she together with them? Like, so are they as buddy as Ratchet and Clank? So is this like one of those moments where like this whole time you ripped off my arm and you never fucking told me? I'm sure that's character growth as well as like I'm sorry, you deserve to be upset. This is fair. This is a fair thing. You should not let this go. You're gonna have to hang out with this person. You better deal with this. But also, I guess it does. Yeah, it's probably a really good story because it like you said, if the robot's like hell bent on like being a Buddhist monk who's like, I don't want to hurt anybody, and you're like, okay, I realize you tried to repent as much as you can, It's funny because like even as you're describing this, I'm assuming the character's really cool, like the little robot, and you empathize with it. Ain't nobody built like Clank though, you know what I mean? Clank is the most like plot armor character in the entire game. It seems like you're not saying something when Ratchet's right beside him, you know what I mean? But also I think Ratchet is unkillable because Clank is the main protagonist, really, you know what I mean? Like he's got that energy, and he just chooses to be like, you know what? The person who's the main character takes some fire, all right? Also, the world's not ready for a main robot character. The two weren't connected, think of it as Ratchet never met. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So they're basically like, hey, I imagine they become somewhat connected, or she's just like, fuck it, I guess I should care, and goes to see. I'm sure it's a lot of like ups and downs. That makes sense. Yeah. Bodhi said, I think they only use Ruby for the shatter discharge and fire damage buff capacity. Interesting. Also, what's good, Young? Young says, hello, what's good, Young? How's your day been, buddy? But they only use Ruby for a shatter. Is Ruby a shatter? I thought she was more of a shatter and a discharge. Shatter discharge. Okay, so maybe like both. So basically you use her to kind of shatter shields and build up discharge. Is that right? Or use her discharge. That's probably what it is. So her discharge ability scales really well, and her shatter is good enough because she hits so quickly. Is that what it is? Young said, I know I'm late, yeah, but I just know, you're playing Elden Ring on PS. Oh, and your PS5 broke. Oh no, or your PS4 broke. Your PS5 can break, or PS4 can break. That's crazy, man. Or you did like the game crashed on you. Yeah, man. I've never had an issue with my PS4, and I've been treating it kind of not great, but yeah, not bad, but not great. Man, I remember Xbox. Yikes, man. I've never seen a console. Like every 2 years you'd go through it because it'd have the Red Ring of Death, and you're like, fuck off, dude. People always gave PS3 so much shit for being like a shitty, laggy game, but I still have my PS3. It's like, as much as it is a shitty thing, I never had it have like, it just gave up. It just died. It was the Red Ring of Death, and you're like, well, I guess I gotta go spend another $300. Like, what? Yeesh. Oh no! I thought, okay. So Elder. I thought you said Order Ring. So I thought so is there an equivalent to the Red Ring of Death on PS4? I think that's the issue. Young. I've never heard of it about that. So your PS5 just basically broke. Wild. I'm so sorry. Also, I mean, there's an update to save for a PS5 now, though. So, or there's a reason, sorry, to save for a PS5 now. Okay, I wanted to ask you guys this. Okay, so I'm not really in a predicament yet. I have to make a choice, really. It's probably like 5 months away, so it's not an important choice really to make, or even that I have to make. But do you guys feel like so for instance, if we're gonna take Young as the example of being in a position where it seems like you're gonna want to level up to a console, do you just buy the cheaper console that you already had, or do you save up for the jump upwards, even though you're gonna have to spend more money than even when you spent back in the day when you first got your console? Basically, would you buy what you already had but it's cheaper, or would you take this as a sign and buy the next best thing so that you don't have to buy anything in the future ever again, just in case there's a game that takes your interest? I mean, what kind of people are you? I guess it depends on what usage you get out of it too. But some people don't even think that way. Some people are like, no, I'm not spending that money. I don't want to do that. It's too much. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. I'm fine with the normal graphics I got. You know, some people are definitely like that. But I'm in a predicament right now where I'm like that. Mine's not like the difference between. Again, I don't have to do any of this. This is all optional. But the difference between spending $2,000 and spending $5,000. But the $5,000 comes with like really, really good safety precautions, really good, really like top of line stuff that you won't have to seemingly replace for like years. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, well, do I wait more years until that gets cheaper, easier to do, and then I can get that? It's complicated. Also, Bodhi says, ideally you should go for 3-star Cobalt B, and if possible, go for Cobalt's Matricy for 2 set bonus. Bodhi, what do you think this is? What do you think this is happening, Bodhi? Only way I would go even remotely that deep is if Lyra was like a millennia away. Like a solid 2 months to build up my reserve again. And I worry that they're going to be closer than I would like. Oh, there's a lot of characters for them to add. So I'm like, the fact that if we do luck out this early and we get like Cobalt and Ruby right at the hop, that'd be kind of crazy, because there's a lot of characters, like the dude characters, that people are like, give me a dude character to wish for, please. And yeah. Lone Snicket says, it's that sort of storytelling, and yes, later when Ratchet and Rivet meet up for the first time in person, that Kit meets Rivet, and during this time, another thing I forgot to mention is that unlike Ratchet, countless wins against the bad guy, Rivet is the opposite, and she always loses. You don't gotta do her like that. That's some weird shit. That's weird. I feel like it should have. Well, actually, shout out to Insomniac a little bit, or I forgot who. I think it's Insomniac. Whomever makes the Ratchet and Clank games, I forget their name. I think that's right. But anyways, like it's if you were to tell me of like a story with a female protagonist made in 2023 or 2022, it's usually like, oh, they're killing it, they're great, etc. Rarely do I see one that's like, no, they suffer and they fail and they suck. It's like I rarely see those kinds of things. So the fact that they took the jump to be like, no, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna do this right and make them earn back the power that they're gaining, make them reclaim ground and get stronger. That's kind of cool, because it wouldn't be my first proclivity that they would do something like that. So that's neat. Lone Singer says, Tower Fantasy is mainly waifus, and I approve. Yeah, but also I feel like eventually they're gonna realize that no, there's a lot. Like from a person who does data research, yes, there's a lot of dudes in Tower Fantasy, but there's still a shit ton of people. And I think that's one of the Genshin strengths, is how it divided and conquered so well. Because if people just like polarity, people like something that's different enough to keep you engaged. So if you're always seeing the same, this is a girl with long hair. It's a girl with long hair, but it's brown. It's a girl with long hair, but it's all the way down to her feet. Okay, it's a girl with short hair and a pierced nose. Oh, and it's just like the same thing over and over again. Whereas I was like, no, let's break it up and add something truly weird, like abnormal, at least as far as this is concerned, and add like a dude with like a crazy trench coat or some wild shit, whatever, like looking like a classic gangster, Japanese gangster person. You know what I mean? It's one of those examples of like, I know you want waifus, but in order to make waifus truly great, I have to show you the bottom of the barrel, which is dudes, essentially. You'll be like, yes, this is suffering. I understand what I had, Bodhi says, I would suggest not buying any console and go with a low-end... That's true, Bodhi's playing 5D chess. It's true. That's true. But... Bodhi, what do you say? What do you say about God of War? What do you say about that? Huh? What about that game? And the reasons for getting a PS5 or PS4? what he says, I think the banner of those three you mentioned will be really close together. Great. Just great. I don't know if I'll ever do matrices. I don't know if I'll ever do that. I feel like I'd much rather get copies of characters or something like that, because I just can't see that failing. Like, I feel like there'll be eventually a point where the wishes on the standard banner will heavily dry up. But I think we'll always be able to make a dent in matrices, especially when you push into endgame and we're able to actually like genuinely start generating them. I know it's not the same. I know the like limited SSR matrices seemingly are better, but yeah. Undying says, "Hey Grim, you ever gonna play Let It Die again? If there's ever any content for it, I will absolutely play it. When Deathverse comes out, we probably will give it a whirl. My only issue right now, Undying, is that I don't know whether I should basically wait until the PC version comes out, because I don't want to grind my ass off on PS4, which is already laggy and not very good, especially when it's coming to PC. And it's good. There's going to be, I think, a 2-week delay. I think I might just be like, all right, maybe I'll like make a couple videos if people are kind enough to send in their gameplay footage, and I can just talk over it and like describe people's cool plays. In fact, that'd kind of be the best for me, because I don't have the time to grind Let It Die like I did. You know what I mean? Like, I have 2 other games I'm trying to build, and channels and streaming and stuff like that, so it's not quite as easy, at least for me. But yeah. What's the game on screen right now? This is called Wuthering Waves. It's like more of, I think of more of like a higher skill-based, grounded Genshin. It seems like that's my vibe, at least I get. Yeah, this is kind of a bad example because it makes it look like Monster Hunter. It's not exactly like that. It just looks like there's it's like if I go to the beginning of the video, it looks. This is more like cool because there's like iframe parrying and stuff like that. I'll eventually get there. Have you seen Blue Protocol? Man, I'm just peeved at Blue Protocol. It looks so cool, and then it never came out, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And honestly, I don't know, man. As much as like I'll play it, I'm super excited for it. I'm sure it'll be good, but simultaneously, I'm also kind of like, I really like Tower Fantasy. Tower Fantasy is really nailing the combat for me. Maybe Blue Protocol. I feel like Blue Protocol will be more MMO, slower paced, clunkier. Not clunky, but it's like that classic like input and attack, input and attack, and whereas Tower Fantasy is more of like jump in the air, spin, cancel that, jump down, smash your heel into someone's skull, activate this ability, switch to another weapon, and like it's just like all that stuff, you know what I mean? It's like full tilt fly kind of thing. But yes. Right now I'm stuck on Ark Survival of Astala game, 3,000 hours, and Conan Exile. I hope that's not like the same as Conan Exile, but Ark makes sense, man. Ark is one of those games that the developers have been like, that is, to me at least, I know some people are gonna hate this, they're the thing that like makes me want other companies to try live service, because I think they do it quite well. Where like it seemed like there was always pretty sizable changes. They constantly kept adding stuff. The only issue with Ark is that I think they did too much end game building and didn't make the entry point very good. So it just became kind of like, if you can get past the first couple hours of the beginning and like learn how to feed yourself and all that shit, you can get by. But the pain in the ass thing of like getting a server, like taming your first animals, then tame everything else like a bird. It seemed like it got a lot. It seemed like it got like a lot. It became too much. But then I remember seeing, it was also, I remember I used to watch Let's Plays as I went to sleep about Ark, and it was so cathartic because it's just like a person like just building thatch walls and like building a mega empire barn, and it's like, this is kind of nice. Also, things in that game had stupid scale, so you could like you kind of had to, because a dinosaur was so big, so you had to make like a house that's giant, but it kind of was cool when it was made because you're like a little tiny guy in like a huge ass barn. Wild. Anyway. Lone Singed says, in Riven's dimension, Nefarious took over the universe and is killed it, compared to Ratchet's dimension, where Nefarious was based every step of the way. Yeah, bested every step of the way. Yeah, what you mean, yeah. So how is Nefarious's like timeline with him popping off for such a long time? And also, is Is it just that the universe is harder to succeed, or is it that is it just that Ratchet has that it factor of main protagonist? Because I wonder, does he go to Nefarious' like home world and everything's built to be for Nefarious, and is he just like, and just starts dismantling everything, and then he's just like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? I used to win all the time. Or is it just like, no, this universe is stacked in a way that anyone who goes against the people is getting rough. The thing about PCs is that you lose some of those console exclusivity. Yeah, with that being said though, only for a time. Even if they don't come to PC, they come to PC. They do. And they're also free. But anyways, we don't need to talk about it. Abodi says, God of War is a good reason to buy a better console. Yeah, I also feel like it's, if you got no console, I hope it's gonna be okay. I really hope it's gonna be okay. It may be like laggy as shit, but as long as I get the Dad of War experience, I don't know. Do you guys think we're gonna get a conclusion to Kratos in this story? I feel like we probably won't. I feel like it'll probably be where, like, I could see them doing the third game. Well, I kind of would hope that they would just like say, you know, like Atreus or like a God of War Kratos passes off the mantle to his son somehow. I think that'd be nice. I don't know if I want Kratos. I don't want Kratos to die though, but I think how it probably would make more sense is just the way they ended the first game, with it not being like a very like, and it's over. It was kind of like, and to be continued in like a really obvious way, and you're like, okay, I guess this is so good, I guess. Anyways, I think that how they'll probably end it, or how they'll continue the series after the game right now, is probably Kratos maybe being like this. Like, I feel like in the next game we'll be permanently playing Atreus without God of War, but I could see God of War like basically like an old man following his son as like kind of like a kind of a guide really quick, like, go here, do this. You know, come talk to me if you're lost, and that's kind of where it'll be. Because I feel like I don't think they can just kill off Kratos. If they do, they have to make it in a beautiful way. I do have a moment where I think it'd be pretty fucking cool, where if in the end of that game, if Kratos did somehow die, or he was about to die, and there's a line from one of the trailers where it basically says that like, no one's ever prayed to basically no one's ever prayed to the God of War. And if it has, it's been like, you know, vengeful and like, you know, demanding power to, you know, seek revenge or something. But it'd be cool to see his son, you know, pray to the God of War, either when he's dead and then reclaim his power, or to like give Kratos like a second wind almost. That'd be kind of cool. So many things they could do with that, which is, can't wait. Lomsika says it was Thanos snapping from existence. Undying says, I'm kind of starting on Tower of I'm kind of started on Tower of Fantasy, but you kind of started Tower of Fantasy but haven't gotten into it. Yeah, man, it's definitely one of those games where like, it's the story isn't the thing that pulls you in there, but if you're able to push through a lot of the stuff and get access to Void Rift, Fortress Clash, and then you start getting into the swing of things and you get in that groove, it feels so satisfying, at least to me, to log in every day, do my dailies, hang out on stream and like play Fortress Clash, which is like the weekly resetting thing basically. So you have like various things you can spend, almost like you get a card throughout the week, and you get 3 cards throughout the week that you can expend. If you go beyond that, then you start losing progression, so you want to make sure you expend your cards. But these special things give you crazy things, so it's kind of worth doing them, you know. Right now I'm stuck in Ark Survival with 300 hours, just in Ark. Whew. That's yeah, it's a good game. Again, if there's any game that can kind of do that without it being super egregious, like there's some people who have I think I might have, I don't know, I have a lot of time and Let It Die, and that's a game that does not have a lot of additive content or customization content in it, like Minecraft, for instance. So Ark is one of those games where it's like, yeah, that actually makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, this is a game that can have infinite variability, kind of, or at the very least, a lot of variability. So, yeah. But I imagine you've been playing it since its conception, right? That's not like a year's worth of grind. That'd be fucking nuts. I've been playing Ark since the initial release. Before it was the Stomping Land. Then Ark was released. TSL got shut down. Oh. Wait, did something happen with the developers of Ark or no? I've been Stomping Land. Oh, I see. Lone Syndicate says, also, Grin, in reference to your question, how I feel about the Lombax saga of the PS3, Ratchet and Clank games. I only played Tools of Destruction back when I was going to play the rest of the game back then, but I never got to. Ooh, dude, it's so good. My favorite one is absolutely what was the story of the one that's my favorite is the one where Ratchet got his iconic V like slit in his mask. It's like the one that I think it's called Up Your Arsenal. I think that's what it's called. Maybe. No, I don't know if that's right. Maybe it is Tools of Destruction. It's the one where like you're in a battle arena and there was like this iconic mace weapon that you would just basically just fucking spam and you would just devastate everybody. It was such a good weapon. What's good, Charlie? Oh, I got stretched. Oh, my back. I got so much air bubbles in my stomach. It's awful. My dad says, you ever play Horizon Zero Dawn game? I played the first one. The second one, to me, man, as much as it looked good, I thought it was just not enough to. I don't know. I always try to be the positive angle to things because I don't want to destroy or diminish anyone else's hype. Although I also have a tendency to be like, here's also what I think kind of quickly. Okay, and then we're back to, whatever. But to me, I really liked Horizon, the first game. But I thought that when I seen the sequel, the only thing I could see that they added was like water diving, really, which like they made the game look prettier. And my if there's one thing that I think I could fix with the gaming landscape that I think would make everything significantly better is not purge microtransaction stuff, but it'd be to beat in the head of people who are playing or creating games that what gamers or people who enjoy this kind of thing do not care about is graphics. To a point, yes, but after there's a point, add systems and functionality to the game. Like to me, I thought a perfect evolution to the amazing combat in Horizon Zero Dawn would have been basically to give yourself the ability to call in techno monsters, like to basically call in raptors. So hit a button, and if you hacked certain animals and if you upgraded them, you could like point at it. And also it made sense because it was literally Aloy, who is a normal fuck off human, fighting other extraordinarily buff, jacked fucking of 1,000 people. And like you're fighting tribes in this new area. It's even more shit she's dealing with. It just makes more sense for her to actually be like, no. What's a way that I could get a level up in power? And that's utilize these technological beasts for my strength. But they never added anything like that. The thing that they did was like, you could hover and you could throw a spike, a spear and all that stuff. And I was just like, that's not enough to make me want to like to experience basically the same kind of game again. Does that make sense? I still like the first game. To me, it's just like when I see a sequel to a game, I either want to see. Also, when I ended the story of Horizon Zero Dawn, I didn't feel like I needed to know like how everything plays out. I guess what I mean. Like I felt very satisfied with the fact that Aloy found out who she is, where she came from, and was set off on the horizon. I felt like that was fine. I didn't really feel like I need to have more. Or there are some games when they end it, and you're like, I want more of this world. I want more of this. God of War is one of the best examples of like, this is a game that ended, and I want to know what happens next. Like, I haven't felt this need to play a sequel in probably like years, But that's kind of how I feel a bit. Lone Second says, will Remen Dimension Nefarious is known as the Emperor and is known for never losing and occasionally countless and conquers countless planets. And then Ratchet's Dimension Nefarious learns about the dimension he goes is said dimensions. He goes to said dimension with the sole purpose of him impersonating the guy and being. I know Nefarious at this point because I played so many games where he's just like, wait, what? Hold up, what? Ratchet, you do whatever you want. Apparently there's a dimension where I'm killing it. I'm gonna go to that. You just have this one. It's been real, my friend. Let's do this. That's an interesting question. If you had the ability to like swap places with a universe, essentially, but it would mean that the people who you're in, the people around you in your circumstance, and all the people you will meet, basically it's like you're just disappeared from the face of the earth. But you could go to a world where you're just killing it. Would you? I feel like most people would like, that'd be kind of awesome. But at the same time, it's like if you stop and you think about how like your mom would be crying because you just disappeared on her and shit, that'd be rough. That'd be not it. Or your friends or something like that, people who need you in the world, your future wife, your future kids, etc. Also, I feel like it'd be weird going into a place where you have not earned anything, really. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing to like go to a place where like my bank account has a bunch of zeros and 1 in front of all of those zeros, essentially. And you're like, okay, I don't really feel like I need to earn all that, but you know, at least I'm set. You know? With the whole like going to another universe and then like seeing a friend that your self in that world knew, and you're like, I'm sorry, man. It would just feel weird. Undying says, you said you're back and you grabbed your stomach. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, yeah. Sorry, it's because like there's a bubble in my chest. And I'm like, also, I think my back was sweaty because I've been overheating recently. Charlie says, you should play Outer Worlds. Dude, loved Outer Worlds. Charlie, are you excited for the sequel, dude? Because I am over the moon. What do you think they'll add? Because I really think that Outer Worlds, man, is such a good game. But, is that why you're saying you should play Outer Worlds? Yeah, because it has the companion system. You can literally command your followers to fuck shit up. Yeah. I loved it. That's one of the reasons why I loved it. But, man, I really hope Outer Worlds, because I think it was bought up I think they were bought up by Microsoft, and I think Microsoft gave them a bunch of money to be like, okay, you can make whatever you want. I think that's right. I think Outer Worlds was made not by Obsidian, but the original dev team that made the original Fallout, and it's such a good game, man. But it also has enough like, I could see that like it still has that weird like zoom into a character's face and like time freezes, and you're like, how are you? kind of weirdness. So there's still some clunk there, but the system that they put in that thing, if there was like a housing system, if there was like it's funny because like, I don't know, man. Bethesda is creating essentially in Starfield like the mining asteroid belts, and I just feel like it's gonna be the same thing with the housing, where it's just like, this is something I can do, but is not worth doing, or feels horrible to actually achieve. Essentially, like there's a bunch of like, even just the locking on and making a house felt like jarring and weird, or like I feel like Obsidian, or not the Obsidian, sorry, the people who make Outer Worlds would just be like, they would do exactly what one of the most endorsed mods on Nexus is for Fallout 4, which is basically it's called Sim Settlements, and it's basically just an automation thing where you just put down like a place in an area in which can hold development. And as long as you keep dumping resources in the resource chests, people who you elect to basically build these things will build them over time. So you can basically set up all these things near this like housing system or enclave, leave, go do side quests, come back, drop off all your gear, maybe sell some of your weapons in this kind of townish place or your own little fort. And then every time you come back, everything is getting exponentially better. The shop that you put up earlier is now a tier 5 shop, and it's fucking selling like excellent gear. The house is now fucking ordained with like perfect concrete, and it used to be shitty wood pallets, things like that. I feel like people get more out of that, especially in a game where they're like having to leave. Like you're having to leave and do side quests. In a game like Minecraft, it works because there's not really any other direction besides build. You don't really have side quests or quests in Minecraft, and if it is, it's one of the weaker points of the game, I think, with the whole villages and whatnot. So yeah. Undying said you love the first Horizon game. Yeah, I know it was a good game for a lot of people. Lone Ticket says, you are referring to Ratchet Deadlock, the last Ratchet game made for PS2. It's funny you bring that up because I watched the retrospective on the game today. Really? Is that what it's called? Deadlock? I thought I would have remembered that. I guess. I thought, it does make sense. I think it was the last game I played on PS2, actually. That makes sense. Yeah. That feels about right. I don't remember playing on PS3. It was so good. It was so good. You had like this cool view. It was like you were playing in a gladiator arena. The story was sick too, because like you were like, you getting everyone, like the announcers were terrible to you, but then eventually at the end they were like, please save us, and everyone, like the announcers were like shitting on you, but the crowd's loving it, and so you're like, fuck yeah. I'm doing great. And also no matter what challenge they threw at you, you just cut through it. Felt like a gladiator. I mean, imagine if Horizon and Ark Survival Evolved had a baby. I think there's mods like that. There's like definitely mods that like you can have a field day with making like electro dinos, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Man, that's something that's interesting. A lot of people really like dinosaurs as like a creative implement. I don't think I really got in too hard with Jurassic Park to really feel that way, or to like my. I think so many things can be drawn back to when you're a kid. My thing of choice, my action figure of choice when I was a kid was not like a dinosaur toy, but it was always a dude with like a bulletproof vest on, with like these cool giant fucking goggles on that were blacked out with like a ski mask on, and he had like military gear, and I'm like, that's why I think it looks cool. That's the kind of shit that I'm like, god damn, that's clean. You know what I mean? So yeah. Alone Siggett says, I've actually asked my friend a similar question. If you were able to go to another dimension, or you were where you were killed, like a Rick and Morty situation, I feel like that's because basically, yeah, my thought, at least that's where my brain goes. How would it make you feel? Would you be happy for your dimension counterpart or the opposite? It's tough. It's a tough thing, because a part of me feels like if you were to go to this dimension, let's say, for thought experiment, to me, it would feel really weird if you had to engage with like a mother that was entirely different than who is your mother. You know what I mean? But also, I could also see that there's a person out there who is in a certain existence, who maybe your parents passed away, maybe you're like in just such a bad state anyway that like anything would be an improvement. So yes, but for people who still have loved ones, who had overall people who care for you, that's what makes it tough. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But also, yeah, I guess that's like the worst case scenario where you only get to pick a generalized version of your world. If we could pick an exact world that was identical, basically, but in this world, for whatever reason, you won the lottery, or I always go with wealth, dude, because I'm actually a very content, happy person, but wealth is such a fucking metric to base, being able to take care of your family, being able to make, especially going into what we're about to go into, it's just something that's such a big metric, I think, that could solve a lot of your issues, and you could just dedicate your life to figuring out whatever the fuck you want to figure out. Hopefully it's not a bullet in the head. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's a well-loved life with generosity and shit around it. So yeah, to me, if I could do that, maybe, but I guess the core question is that, well, it's not technically your family, it's not technically that, but if technically they were exactly what you knew, then what's the difference? Like, to me, that's always been my question to people in another way is, if there was like, say, in 100 years, maybe more, we eventually get to a point where like maybe AI is developed and maybe the singularity happens, which is just like a huge surge in technology, basically, because they basically feed into each other and help each other evolve. If there was a robot that was indistinguishable from a person, would you still be attracted and still love that person? Even like, say if your mechanical endorphins to your brains were lit up, etc. Same thing is, say in the future, let's do the goofy fun one where it's like the cat girl bullshit. Let's say you go to like there's a dimensional rift, drops off a bunch of weird not subhuman, but like different human. There were like there's orcs, there's all these kinds of things. There's animal hybrid, whatever. Would you still be able to love that person, basically, regardless of the thing? I think so. So like, to me, because the reason why I bring that up in contrast to what we just talked about with the whole dimensional jumping and taking somebody's, but not yours necessarily, but also yours, existence, is because a lot of people, when it comes to the whole AI thing, is like, well, technically they're not human. And I always think, well, what is really human? If something makes you feel a certain way, and if something doesn't wrong you, and something isn't going to stab you in the back, then, and you're happy, then who gives a flying fuck what it is? It's kind of like the simulation theory. It's like, Well, if you're miserable and you hate everything, then yeah, fucking break the simulation. It's not good. Arguably, you should probably try to optimize the simulation so that you don't get fucked as well. but otherwise, who cares? If you're happy and you're content, you're good. Now, I guess the question is always that the grass is greener on the other side. So like it could maybe outside is great, it's real, and I'm always just like, real? I don't know, man. Real always feels like such a weird thing. It's almost like it feels like the same justification that people do to be a douche. And I mean, if you're mean and rude, and people just don't like me because I'm honest and I'm real. It's like, no, you're an asshole, and you don't know how to speak to people, and you happen to tell the truth. These are all things that are not connected, but very much a part of this ecosystem or environment or outcome, I should say. But yeah. Once again, I've also watched retrospective on the original trilogy of Ratchet and Clank, a game, and actually learned quite a bit. Ooh, what did you learn? What kind of takeaways did you get? I've seen the Trash Bandicoot one. I think it's the same series, and it was hilarious because they talked about how like they were basically pushing this console to the absolute breaking point and like hacking it just to get enough juice to do what they wanted to do with it. And I thought that's so fucking awesome. Lone Singed says, "Yep, Grin. That's the one where Ratchet doesn't have a Clank and it's fighting in the Gladiator. Yeah, it's the one. Okay, shit. I would not have thought Deadlock. I would have thought it was Up Your Arsenal or something." Fluff says, "I'm alive. We would love to see it. How are you, Fluff? Did you have your job today? I know you keep saying that. Man, guys, I feel like you'll have to be very patient with me for the next little bit. I used to have a decent memory. Oh, it was okay. But ever since I did that, like that math stuff, or not math stuff, ever since I did that core stuff, and I still am kind of like refreshing it all the time, I find it's totally a thing where like your brain can only handle so much memory that it has to eventually start to chuck stuff away. Like I have a slight inclination that I had a conversation, something like this, but I have no understanding of what the data was, which is not good. But it also makes sense if you're like trying to squeeze everything in your brain. Your brain eventually has to say, well, what's important? What are we trying to focus on? This? Okay, we'll calcify that one and go to sleep tonight. All right, calm down. I'm like, okay, well, be patient with me, basically. Oh, I wish I had more. I don't have any more brain juice. I don't like to drink coffee past 5 because it fucks your sleep up. But I wonder if I can get away with it because I fast now. By the way, 4th day, only eating 1 meal a day at the very end of the day around 8, which sucks. I gotta basically wait up until I digest my food, which is like another 2 hours. So I'm going to bed a little bit later, but I've been waking up at the same time. Less sleep, fasting. Rough combo. How's the day, my Fluff? Also, I seen you texted me, Fluff. I didn't get to see it because I was in a car with my brother and we were unloading wood. And by unloading, I mean picking it up from a random stranger and then paying them and then leaving. Guess how much a truck full of wood is? Firewood specifically, not like lumber. Wood. Just like chopped up wood. How much would you think this would be? I nailed it when my brother told me. Crazy. Hit me with it. How much is a pickup full, specifically a pickup trunk, or whatever you would call it, a truck's thing. You know, say, yeah, that. How much would that be, money-wise, dollars? Also, Withering Waves, man. I do have other gameplay clips, but I kind of like having it go. Oh, my back. Oh, my spine. Oh, stretching did not help. It just made it cramp in another area. Oh. Holy shit. Oh. Yeah, I find the whole fasting thing actually quite... the reason why I'm doing it is not necessarily to fast. It's to remain clear mentally. I've been having a lot of brain fog recently, and that whole fasting thing has been quite helpful. Although I might have just been sick. You know when you have like so many things happen to you, and you're like, is this... What is the word causation versus... Like is this the cause or is this causation? I'm not sure what the right word is to say. Fluff says, had my first shift, let's go. How was it? It was good. Zero also was good. Zero, I seen Zero. I fucking Zero. Hold up. Hold the fuck up. That's exactly what we should look at, actually. I have that clip too, I think, somewhere. It looks awesome. What do you call it? It looks so chill, man. We might play some of this. This looks so... Just Slime Rancher looked like a game that I would have loved so much if it just became like, Sea of Thieves, how big that map is, how like crazy those things are. If this just had like fuck ton of content, if this had like the Ark Survival Evolved content, you could level up your shitty ranch to like okay heights, and like, oh, you leveled up your ranch to another level of a box. Woo! And you still have to run in there and suck up items as you're getting ripped to shreds, and etc. If you could go from like okay to a fucking empire, oh dude, I'd be so hyped. I hope they do stay in early access permanently though. I do feel like Slime Rancher was such a nice idea that kind of popped off, and they're like, oh fuck. And then I hope this game is, because it's released right now. It's on early access for Slime Rancher 2. And I hope it stays. I hope it's just like they continue to keep updating this game, rather than doing like a story-driven one. But Zero, do you know if it's a story-driven experience like the first one kind of was, where it's kind of like puttered along based on like going to this area, now you can get more slimes, blah, blah, you know? Man, that looks good. It was one of the funnest streams we ever had, man. This game is just like, people like Power Washer Simulator. I like this. This is my shit. This is like, they're like just super satisfying. You feel like it's cozy, etc. I'm cold also. But that said, had my first shift from 10:30 a.m. or p.m. Late night. Figured out my limit, and it's 6 hours. So I was able to successfully request 6-hour shifts going forward. My next shift is Sunday night, 10:30 to 4:30 a.m. Okay. Interesting. So would they allow you to go beyond that? So you have to, is that like something that you set your own limit, or do they? Yeah, interesting. Do they set your own limit, or do you get to like, if say for instance you wanted to make more money 1 month, because you wanted something, would you be able to push yourself harder for like a month straight and then be like, okay, can I go back to the normal one and shift downwards? I feel like it makes sense if you're both just trying to monitor things. Like you could work with your coworkers to be like, can you cover for me in this, and you're like, okay. Although I feel like you may be eating up their hours in weird ways too, so weird. Although corporations like that kind of are different. I feel like they have an excessive amount of money that they kind of have on reserve to do those kinds of things, to where they can kind of pay most people. Lone Syndicate says, well, I learned about the behind the scenes of the second and third game. What I learned is that one of the second games was greenlit 5 months before the original game released, which means after the game released, they had to immediately start on the next game, and that's kind of shows in the game. Oh, in Ratchet and Clank 2, you mean? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I think people also used to say that, where like Ratchet and Clank 2, which is the one thing that you don't want. If anything, you want the sequel to a game to be pretty damn good. You know what I mean? You don't want it to be under the thing. Oh, it's out on Game Pass. Yeah, man, did they buy up the devs? Do you know that, Zero? If they bought up the devs to this? Because that makes so much more sense. I feel like that probably is what we're gonna see a lot of within the coming years for games probably like this, that are like satisfaction metrics, basically. But yeah, like the whole idea of like Game Pass being a thing where it's like, okay, well, because I feel like that's something that Xbox is kind of struggling with right now. Xbox could reclaim a shit ton of ground if they start releasing games from their developers, but also I think they know that it's if we fail and the games don't connect, and we release something too early in this broken mess, then we just kind of devalue Game Pass. We need to make sure Game Pass is at the very least like, no, you're getting, because Xbox started to see like massive changes as soon as they said every game that we release from Microsoft will be on Game Pass day one. That made everyone be like, oh, okay, like it no longer became like I'm technically having to buy twice, or this is just like I get a slightly better deal, but not really, because I'm on the hook for a month of paying for this, or it's on my credit card every month being taken off. So yeah, but I really hope that they do this properly. I hope not every game is like an early access thing, but even like Slime Rancher at the very beginning, I thought was it like early access was fine for this type of game. I felt like, you know. It says, because something that I noticed even when I was a kid playing Ratchet and Clank 2 is some of the gadgets kind of overlapped each other. did similar things and were only used at the most 3 times. Yeah, that's brutal. I think it's a kind of story-driven, not sure though. Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. I wish they would have doubled down. Well, it can be story-driven. I just hope they double down on the systems and stuff, like having slimes, because basically the whole game was like make better slimes to then make hybridization of slimes to then sell them. I hope it's like make electro slimes, because you could set up an electro generator boombox that could make your slimes generate more. So it's like you're creating slimes that basically do multiple things. Maybe they're part of like leveling up or making something stronger or making a utility source. That's something that Cult of the Lamb does really well, where it's not just about having a following, it's about like empowering them and using resources in a clever way to make it so that everything is kind of valuable for different reasons. Fluff says, I barely manage going until 5:30 a.m., but despite taking ibuprofen to relieve the pain, the aches in my feet were killing me after 6 hour mark. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Fluff. You also got to be careful, because it's something you grow into. It's something that even as a person who exercises a lot and whatnot, being on your feet and having good circulation to where your heart gets good at pumping blood harder to get through your feet veins, to then keep your body basically recovering, is tricky. So it's definitely one of those things where, like, right now you might be like, it's the maximum I can do, but I think in a couple of weeks when you I'll probably get better shoes as well and all that stuff, it'll start to get better over time. It's kind of like callus, I guess. At least that's my understanding of it. But yeah. Also, look how many fucking slimes they're gonna introduce. Jesus Christ, whole fucking board full. Lomsig says, GRINN, going Commando is known to be a perfect sequel in the Ratchet and Clank series, despite that it took the concept bigger and better and knocked it out of the park. Yeah, it's true. Zero says, so recently, undivided attention, all right. So recently, I have drifted away from video games because my rage was getting out of hand. Plus, school on top of that. I threw my book bag at the wall yesterday and almost threw my chair too. Instead, I have turned to writing books, songs, etc. I have... sorry, you're writing? Do you mean reading book? Or writing? Maybe it's writing books, like, or journaling, I guess. Journaling and songs, maybe making songs as well. Interesting. I have a really good book I'm writing at the moment for my creative writing class. It's called 35 Years. Basically, I took my concept of romance and shifted it to that of a 35-year-old man. Okay. I would love more details. It's interesting. What do you mean? So, like, basically my question is, what is your idea of romance? Romance and shifted it so it's like the romance of a 35-year-old man going through a romance thing. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. Yeah. As far as the anger in regards to video games, I wonder what kind of video games you're playing. It sounds like you're playing League or something. To me, yeah, I think there are games that are built on competitiveness, and if you have a relationship with yourself of perfection, usually is what it stems from, is like the want to perfection for perfection. So you want to perform well, and you're frustrated by the fact that you can't perform well, or that others are hindering your performance, and therefore you get angry because of video games basically being this weird fucky mess, basically, by other people affecting your experience and others not playing well and all these kind of things. But I'm curious what kind of games you play, Zero. What kind of games you're playing that are doing this, or is this anything? Do you just have a natural proclivity for anger in some ways, or is this a particular kind of thing? Fluff says, originally I was set for 8-hour shift, but I need better shoes if I'm to last that long. With 6-hour shifts, 4 days a week, I'll have 24-hour work week. For now, that will suffice. I can potentially work back up to 8, but it's more important to be that I'm comfortable and capable of this. Yeah. Again, I think it's more of an argument of like everything takes a moment to adapt. So if you adapt too quickly, you'll break, which is not good. So you want to make sure you're constantly giving yourself enough time to grow and adapt, etc. So yeah. We definitely got to look into those shoes. Yeah. For me, man, I don't feel like I should get any shoe advice ever, but I've had such bad shoe situations where the one that actually I thought would be the last thing that worked actually did, but it's like actually a minimal support, flat as fuck foot shoe, basically. I showed you guys too about them, but they're basically just like, it's like a moccasin essentially, where it's like very minimal effort, very minimal thing. I don't know if they'd be perfect for on your feet all day. I mean, again, I feel like they kind of are, just because my feet are so weird, but also I trained kettlebell for like 3 years going barefoot, so I think my foot is more comfortable being on nothing under load than with a super supported shoe. Because I looked at a lot of those, and one of the best reviewed shows for a shoe with a big toe box and all that stuff was basically like a clog. But also Skechers and shit have a bunch of like really good structured shoes too, apparently. I went down the rabbit hole one of these days. Zero says, first thing I saw refinery. Sorry, first thing I saw was refinery. You can refine plorts into different ones. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I wonder, because I know that's kind of the trend that they've implemented with the game. I hope there is something like that though. I hope there is some sort of like a way to craft. Because it does look just like food. It looks like plorts are like the only thing that you're able to suck up still. It would be cool if you were able to, like, pick up maybe electricity quartz and like and give them to your people or whatever, right? Lone Ticket said, like the guy mentioned that the two gliding gadgets, one was free and the other you had to pay 20 bolts for. Also, side note, I'm kind of glad it took the whole pay to progress concept out of the future Ratchet and Clank game. Yeah, man, that was so well. They kind of still kept it in some regards. There was always, I actually don't mind when they do stuff like this, where there's like an amazing aesthetic armor piece that maybe has like 2 or 3 bonuses, like more health or something, but it's like $1 bazillion. So you have to do like every side quest that you could possibly find in order to get access to that like god tier armor. But it's also kind of awesome, so you're like, all right, fine. But yeah. But he says, it wasn't Rome. It wasn't Rome. It wasn't that. It was Rome. What? My idea of. Did I misread that, Bolty? Why did you say romance? Romanc? Yeah. Did I fuck up? My idea of romance is that it should last. But the thing that makes this story interesting, to me at least, is that there is a 35-year-old man that never fell in love. And he was very antisocial. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, no, I think that could be really, it's definitely, I haven't heard many stories with the whole antisocial main character kind of thing. If it is, it's in like anime or webtoons, but no, that's interesting. Yeah, especially the fact that he's old. Usually people stay away from old people because they can't relate. But no, that's really nice. Yeah. I wonder how that'll be. I bet that'll be a great story. Yeah. I just played shooters like Borderlands, Far Cry, and stuff of that sort. Interesting, Zero, because yeah, I'm sure like everyone has a different mental proclivity on how they react to things, essentially. But I find that a little surprising, because I always find people who play games which are just like shooters and whatnot that aren't like competitive driven apparently have a decrease in anxiety and stress. Yeah. But you were saying when you were playing them, you felt you're more agitated and angry? I guess it could fuck up the reward systems in your brain, maybe. Loadsinger says, but back to gliding gadgets, the free one you used a total of 3 times, while the one you paid for you used 2 times. And because of that crunch time, the team didn't have time to fine-tune those ideas and release the similar between the two. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense why they're like, there's the issue of like, we have such good ideas, we don't have any time to develop the systems. You know what I mean? Yeah. Fluff says, I bought two pairs of shoes under the assumption I needed to fit the supposed dress code, but outside of the company polo, nothing else matters outside of my comfort and capability. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would have figured. I would have been shocked if they would have been like, no, you have to use these fucking horrible shoes. I mean, you can always use soles, but still. Outside of the company, after my second allowed break, the pain was slowing me down too much. The two other night crew guys were very understanding and encouraged me to let them know if I hit my limit, and I was able to talk to the grocery manager as well. That's nice. Yeah. I have fallen arches, so I need to get something more or less tailored for my feet. Yeah. Well, like you've fallen arches, you mean flat feet, basically? Yeah, man, it's funny because I used to have pretty flat feet. I used to have a lot of fucked up problems with my feet, as most people do, because most people are not conditioned really to move well. But yeah, I'm sure your situation is different, but this was mine. I had turnout really bad, and my feet had pretty, not quite flat, but pretty flat. I never had like complete pancake to foot thing, but apparently I've heard from the person that I started doing kettlebells from had a video randomly where he talked about how to fix flat feet, and his whole thing was by doing kettlebells, which is basically a propelled weight away from you, barefoot on flat ground. Because the weight is pushing away from you, every muscle in your body has to resist, and your feet basically have to keep grabbing the ground. So by them constantly grabbing the ground and having to flex, eventually that pulls up your arch, as long as you're not having any sort of weird structural thing. So sometimes your knee will basically dive in a weird way. Like, so say if your foot's straight, your knee will deviate to the right, and you don't want that, because then your knee has no reassurance. You want to keep your knee right above its bone so that it's perfectly up and down. You know what I mean? But anyways, I have some of the most gnarly arches in my entire family now on my feet. My feet are like I could fit two fingers straight under my foot, and I still am not touching the ground under the arch of my foot. I mean. Also, I have fucking weird musculature in my foot. Everyone thinks it's like a cyst or something. I tell them to push on it. It's like, no, it's a fucking strong muscle in my foot. But yeah, that's one of the ways that I've heard people say, or that's how I fixed my feet in terms of having arches. But then I always see people also say like, well, no, my specific instance is different, which it might be. But also, it's kind of like the catch-all thing where sometimes your instance is different. Other times it's also like, well, it could be. It could absolutely be. It also could be that this could help you, but your people aren't interested in trying, I guess, because it is like you're still having to exercise, you're still having to do all this stuff, which most people just don't want to do anyway. But yeah, that's what I would start with in terms of that, because like getting a good shoe is good, but also I think it in some ways could exacerbate the problem. I think it's probably better to do both, but if you can only do one at a time, it's understandable too, especially now that you got a job, you don't need more shit to do, probably. On top of all that, at least for the first couple weeks and months for that. It's something to consider, maybe. Abodi says, sounds pretty rough, love. Yeah, it's unfortunate when people have those kind of like weird deviations, Fluff says, thankfully, my first day was on the easier side. I was facing night, where our goal was to go through every aisle and pull products forward to the edge of the shelves and rotate to the face. Yeah, just classic grocery stuff. Yeah, try to make it so people don't have to reach all the way back. It makes sense. Zero says, I have a theory though. I was looking at the side effects of one of my medications, okay, I don't know how to say that. Agitation? Sorry. I thought I was reading something on medical to agitation. Agitation is a side effect. I thought I was reading a medical weird thing. I was like, anyways, that might be it too. Yeah. Although I will say, I think everybody has in some ways, and I'm sure it's just a scale. Everyone has I still have those feelings of when I get really frustrated, a part of me wants to I have the urge to like hit my controller. I guess basically like take my controller and smash it on my desk. Not like to the point where I'm like, I see some people that like fall into it though. They're like, they don't just hit their controller in a fit of anger. They hit their controller and they just keep hitting it until it breaks. Like I feel like they feed the rage beast essentially. Whereas for me, I've always had that proclivity and I've done it, and then I've immediately felt so stupid. Like I hate the feeling of feeling that, like feeling dumb. At least I'm sure people have a different response, but for me, I always feel like an idiot. Like, that didn't solve anything. You just broke your fucking controller, you idiot. Now I gotta go pay for another one. That's $60. You know how long you have to work to get $60 for this moment of fucking exuding rage, you fucking loser. That's me talking to me, not me talking to you. But to me, I don't know. Whenever I let go of control in that way, whenever it's been like rage or anything, I just feel stupid. I feel so stupid. And it's never worth it, which is always why I'm like, it's better to walk away or to just completely slow down. Like, and to realize you're getting worked up for no reason. This is something that like is entirely avoidable. Give yourself a minute and like maybe come back. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's easier said than done, because sometimes emotions can be pretty strong, especially if they keep building and you keep like just, oh well, whatever, I'll keep trying, and then eventually it gets bad. Yeah. So my theory is I'm more angry because of that. Yeah, that's definitely the case, especially if you're on medication that might change your mental balance essentially. Bolty says, I just wanted to write romance. Sorry, I thought I made a misspelled something. I was like, oh, or missaid something, because that happens sometimes. Sometimes my brain just autopilots and I'm like, oh fuck, I misunderstood the entire sentence. And I'm always like, oh, I feel like a fool. So I gotta run back. Bolty says, I'm feeling sleepy earlier tonight. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by, Bolty. Enjoy your rest. Fluff says, Sunday might be where I learn to throw portions where we break down pellets and stock the shelves. Pallets, sorry, and stock the shelves. I'll be heading aisle side 7, 9, and 10. If so, aisle side 8 is purely generally merchandise, which is enough. In the fragile department, we handle groceries. So the packaging, food stuff. Gotcha. It makes sense. Yeah. Have your own little sections that you're gonna start to map out. Sooner or later, that whole thing is gonna be your bitch, Fluff. It's gonna be, you're gonna know it back like the back of your hand. Zero says, my arches are more rise. Yeah. Fluff says, yeah, I had almost all of my later school years I wore Converse skater shoes. Me too, man. So I had zero. Yeah, no, I had zero arch support too, man. I love fucking Converse though, man. I love it so much. I don't know why, but man, I have the vivid memory for Converse though. My love for Converse is this deep. We had the Terry Fox run. For those of you guys who don't know, it's a Canada thing where like you were basically booking it across a long distance run, essentially, for cancer awareness, essentially. But we did that, and we basically, I have this thing where like, if I ever say something like it's me versus me, then I'll immediately go really hard. Like I'm not a really big competitive person, but when it's competitive with myself, I turn a switch and I get like, my eyes glaze over and I just fucking grind. So for me, I wore Converse and it was a Terry Fox run, and there's something about me that doesn't like, I'm not sure if you guys remember this in school, but I used to fucking despise when you're walking down the hall and there were kids that were basically creating a fucking line because there were like three friends talking to one another. And I just wanted to say, like, fucking move, because I'm having to walk slower behind you. I don't have this in driving, but yeah, I hated walking behind them because it was just a waste of time. They're like dragging ass, they're not trying to get to class. I always had to like scoop around them basically. But I felt the same thing was happening in this race where I've seen so many kids not running. And I thought, it's always a good cause. Terra Fox run's always fun. They're always a good thing, right? So then I went hard in the paint, and I ran in Converse, and I felt pain in my feet. But I've always been pretty good about like, pain's pain. You just keep going, right? You just let go and you follow through. Eventually your brain just kind of, if you don't focus on it, your brain's like, okay, well, I guess it's not a problem. And then you just go fine. Same thing I learned at Ironbone. But long story short, I ended the race. I was like, man, my feet feel wet. I had shaved off the entire layer of my pinky toe completely off to where it was like pink. It was bleeding. It was gnarly. And to that day, I never ran in Converse again because just that consistent and just rips your skin right off, dude. Whew. I'm still surprised Converse are still... They're so cool looking. They fucking look clean. You know what it was? It's the goddamn old-ass show called Recess, where that red Converse shoe just looks clean. Also, it's an iconic, clean shoe. Don't you come for Converse. Loziga says, as for your arches... as far as Arsenal, the crunch time... as far as the game Ratchet and Clank, Arsenal, the crunch time was even more intense, and apparently the team for the game was a bunch of new workers fresh out of college and fans of the second game, and they were thrown into the water, and it was a sink or swim, and the workers already... they were already there, had to be teaching, answering questions while trying to get their own work done, which was already on a close decline. That's insane, man. I feel like did they do one on Jack and Daxter? Because I feel like Jack and Daxter are just like, let's fucking hang out. And then the Ratchet team are like, I'm gonna have a stroke, basically. Oh shit. I had these really comfy shoes I wore. They were called So. It's called So. I can't say that. So comfy. so comfy. Vlev says, and I will be working towards consistent results, but they were disappointing in my finding my 6-hour shift limited. And I will be working towards consistent results, but they weren't disappointed in my finding my 6-hour shift, 6-hour limit. The only pains was my feet. Everything else was fine. They didn't want me getting injured on the job, and being there for 6 hours is very much welcome, and apparently as it will make the rest of their shift both before, during, and after mine easier. Yeah. I don't think it's something that, like, it makes sense that there's not a giant issue. Again, when you hire someone, if there's if there's an expectation that they're immediately going to perform, it's stupid. They're stupid people. But yeah, I think it's also, again, it's like especially when I think they're in their position where any bonus help, and when you're ever working for a chain like that, or like not a chain, but like a grocery store, like this place that kind of is operating under a surplus of wealth that's being distributed to the top, but you got benefits, all these things. One of the things that seemingly is apparent is you don't lose money by having more help. You're always going to make the same amount of money, which is both the good thing and the bad thing. So having more people to help means you can take a break, means you can work less. Also means, so there's not like this, well, I got to outshine this guy. I got to stack 50 more cans. It's like, we're all kind of, the company's making billions. We're making a good bit, enough to have a fulfilling life, at least right now. If we ever wanted to, exert ourselves and do more, we could. In fact, this is giving us a nice bracer. So yeah, but that's something that's apparent. Is I think in those work, especially management and one of those things. Usually, especially grocery stores, one of the ones. Like restaurants, a little bit more fucky, a little more like hierarchical. That's what I want to say, but that doesn't sound right. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. I think the clip is replaying. Oh yeah, no, the clip is definitely replaying. Yeah, we just loop it. Otherwise, we don't have 15 videos ready to play consistently. It's not a let's play. This is just a video that I found that's on GameStop. This is mainly a hangout stream. This is just for people who want to see something neat and if we want to talk about it. Because this is my first job, and I don't have any desire of quitting. Similar to my time at with RFA, I know I need to finish my. I need to find my limits and gradually increase it as I build physical tolerance. All in all, I'm already enjoying the job. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems great. Like, it seems like a job that to me isn't overwhelming to the point in which it's like, oh God. Like, to me, the biggest thing is I think that a lot of people are used to do. I think we're in a state in which most people need, like, people stopped working essentially in a lot of regards, in a lot of those types of businesses. So they're like, we need replacements, please come here. So I feel like they're more open. But in the past, I remember like 2 years ago, I remember people being like you almost need to work. How do I put it? You almost need to work overkill for a lot of shit in order for you to be, like for no reason. Like, it was like we were all working the same hours, but a person's like, no, you gotta constantly do rounds, or you like, oh, you finished your job 3 hours earlier, tough. Or like, hey, don't do that because it makes us all us look bad. Like, you hear horror stories from those things, but to me, this is one of those jobs that seems like it's as long as you can map out what you need to do, eventually it just becomes autopilot. Maybe you can even throw in some, like, one earpiece and listen to a podcast, maybe listen to some videos, to some audiobooks. Like, I feel like it's a kind of steady state type of thing. You know what I mean? Fluff says, I'll likely lose plenty of weight on the diet. Yeah, that's also a nice thing, because you're constantly walking up and down aisles, right? Just walking, man. Walking just kills. It's like you basically are in zone 2 or 1, depending on what you're walking around as your base weight. But yeah, other had also, that's a fat burning state, by the way. It's a fat burning heart rate state. Other had stated they lost 20 to 25 pounds in the first 6 months. Let's go! Upwards to 50 after a year. That's awesome, man. Also, you're probably developing some strength too, because you're like lifting shit all the time, breaking down pallets. So it's probably not just like, again, if you're like on a diet and you're not exercising at all, your weight loss will be heavier or better because you're not gaining muscle which weighs more than fat. So with you, it's probably more you're losing more fat or weight. I should say fat. Fat's the one thing. Alone Ticket says, hey Grin, question. A staple of the Ratchet and Clank games, the Rhino has been a weapon in every game out of all of the various versions of the Rhino. Which is your favorite? Can you describe the Rhino? You should know me at this point, Lone Ticket. I don't do good with names. I only know the type. My favorite one that I think has been in so many games at this point, my favorite has always been the turrets. It's my favorite out of the whole game, where you just chuck a bunch of these little dudes and they're like little tiny little like floating piranhas essentially. They just like fire guns at people, and I love them so much because when you're fighting a boss, you're just like and you switch to a gun that has range. But it was like always the same formula whenever you fought bosses. You huck those things. Those things always got level 10 immediately because you always just chuck them in the middle of a boss fight and light somebody up. It was so fun. But the Rhino is at the I don't know what the Rhino is off the top of my head. I'm sure if you explain what it was, what it did, I'd know, and what it evolved to, maybe. So's my bad. God, they are the most comfortable shoes I have ever worn. Ooh, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for them. 10:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. should be just right for me. I will be able to get plenty of done and no risk of injury. Yeah, that sounds great. How much? I'm trying to do the math in my head of how much time that lets you sleep. That's actually really nice because you're still getting daylight. Yeah. I mean, that seems really nice. Like some I've heard a lot of people say like it's the full night shift, like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. p.m. Sorry, 12 a.m. 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. I think that's right. Is that right? Maybe it's opposite. I don't know. Regardless, it's like dark, dawn till dusk, nighttime. It's brutal, but they also should have to pay you a shit ton. Also, it's still like I've always thought that was weird because it's like I don't know how much bonus time you have. Unless you're not willing to sleep. But I guess you still get some time, but it still doesn't feel like nearly enough time to actually like be a functional human, especially with all the pain in the ass aspect of that. You know, like if you ever have a birthday or a family gathering, you're sure as shit you can't do it. I guess if it's on the weekend, you could. That'd be rough on your sleep schedule, man. Though, ugh. I feel like they'd have to pay you out your ass to be able to keep that managed. You know. Remember when highs were what? Heelys. Oh, dude, Zero. You have no idea. You don't even know how much I loved Heelys. I Dude, if Heelys were socially acceptable and they found a better way to do them, I would be rocking Heelys as a 25-year-old man, okay? I love those things. Those things were, also, I was it was crazy. You were just putting along, max speed. Also, I developed like the most inhuman balance on those things, where I could stay on my heels and just keep doing this and like go up and down, over. I never lost my balance ever. You would hit like a pebble and you would fall forward. I would hit that pebble, pick up my knees, and then ride the wheels again, like as one of these. I loved Heelys. I love them still. If I had a pair, I'd rock them. I think I got like a rock stuck in them and it dislocated it or something, and also, it was a pain in the ass to walk around in them. You're basically walking around with heels and it's rough. And your foot probably gets all fucked up from them too. But on the topic of that, I feel like that's why the whole translation of the whole electric unicycle that I keep rambling at you guys. I won't. I'll stop. Relax. But it translates probably 1-to-1 to those kinds of things. Because I used to not ride like this, which is what you're supposed to. I used to ride like kind of like that. and dude, I would fucking rip. God, I miss Heelys so much. I was one of those kids for sure, dude. You should know me at this point. Yes. Also, absolute menace. People were like, I don't know if you're gonna slip and fall on me, and I'm like, bitch, look at this control, and they would still not have faith. Flo says the GM quired if I would rather start later into the night instead, but 10:30 p.m. is pretty much the perfect. So yeah, the sooner you can get to like getting nighttime hours in, but also get some sunlight, hell yeah. It's best of both worlds, you know what I mean? Who doesn't love a sunset? You should be able to make it to that, and when you wake up and get after the day. Zero says plus. Oh wait, no, I misread that. It says high arches. That's the worst. What's hierarchical? I can't say the word probably. That's the word. Thank you. I still can't say it. I just read it. Plus, it says on the side of those shoes that they support up to 450 pounds. Of what? What shoes? Oh, the sole. Gotcha. Yeah. So they're meant to have a lot of cushion and support in them. That makes sense. Also, woof. Fluff says, not sure how tax and other dedications will work, but I should make around 83 per shift forward before tax. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. How much was the weekly thing? I thought you said it was about like a couple thousand or 1,000 or so, which is nice, man. Especially with, yeah. That's something, especially because I think you live in a household where like you live with family just same as me, so it's less of a strenuous monetary hellscape, basically to support the electric bill and everything else all at once, you know. Lone Ticket says the Rhino is the most powerful. The rocket launcher. Yeah, the rocket launcher I never use really. I always, yeah, I guess I don't really have a thought of it because I get to be like it's like the same thing with Ratchet and Clank with the rocket launcher or the big doomsday weapons, because they had like all those kinds of like heavy hitting, you shoot one bullet and they just wrecks shop. I never used them because you would only use it for bosses, but also it's like the same thing with Fallout. Like I never use the mini nuke ever. I end a game with a bazillion mini nukes. I like when something is powerful or like limited, I'm always like, well, I'll save it. And then I also want whatever is working, I kind of use, you know what I mean? Like it's overkill is not what I seek. I always seek what is efficient. What is the amount that I can spend where I can still keep the overpowered stuff if I ever need it. I never think to use it though. So it's all pointless. But anyway. Azir says, I remember a time where my school had a ban on Heelys because they were so popular. I know. I think that might have been why. No, I think this is why I stopped using Heelys. We were going into high school. I hit hard anxiety. I also was hella introverted, and I thought I don't need any more problems. I also had a learning disability. I was catching up 8 grades because I had a level 3 writing and spelling, just about everything. and I had to get to work. So I didn't want to get bullied. Also wanted to kick some ass. So I said, you know what? As much as I love this, I can't. I unfortunately cannot. I cannot partake in the Heelys. Although, man, I loved him. I loved him to bits. It's funny because I've never been a person that's like I know some people. I have vivid memories when me and my brothers would go biking or something, and there was like this long, deep, so steep as hell incline road that they would just fucking point their tire down and fly down. And to me, I was always like hovering on that brake. I was like, fuck this. This is why we're going so fucking fast. I don't know why. Whenever there's like a machine, like a bike or a car involved, I guess it's because I don't really feel like the body connection. But with those Heelys, I felt like they were just an extension of myself, which sounds hilarious. But no, that's kind of the best way I can describe it. For bikes, maybe you get to a point where eventually they feel that way, but they always kind of feel foreign enough to where it doesn't feel that way. I'm sure if I put the time into learning them, maybe it would. But yeah. Love says, the black shoes I had that fit the dress code worked for the first couple of hours until some of my toes were cramping. So I swapped to the other shoes I've been wearing lately, and they immediately felt great. Until my arches started to hurt after my lunch break. Yeah, it's like certain parts of the system getting taxed. Yeah. Although I always wonder, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that if you're in Fluff's position, would you optimize for getting soles that are like good, or would you go for getting a shoe that's really good? I feel like I've tried the whole get better soles thing, and I don't ever find that that's works. I feel like you need to get a whole new shoe. It's unfortunate, but I feel like getting like better soles has never really done much for me. Like I did that thing at Costco where you stand on like a plate and it tells you where your front heavy, and of course it's all on my front feet. I walk on my tippy toes basically, which by the way is great for you. Fuck those people who don't know what the time is. It's just insufficient strength and twitch fibers. Anyways, but yeah, I did that, and I have those things, and those didn't really help either. It's like you need a whole ass shoe. Also, I do think the foundation of like most shoes are terrible. Like they have such a small toe box to where your toes are getting crunched, etc. Also, no one's looking at your fucking feet, dude. And if they are, weird. Like, do behind closed doors with some crazy kinky shit if you want, but not like why you gotta fucking destroy your feet in order to like make that happen. So I may still bring, Fluff says, so I may still bring a pair and try to break in the black shoes since they are slip resistant. And until we get some ideal shoes, it'll suffice. Yeah. That's also the other thing. Every shoe usually requires some sort of break-in period, which is true. Sometimes the break-in period, though, isn't very good. Like, sometimes they'll be like, the shoe is 50% or 60% acceptable. My foot is 60% comfortable. Well, sometimes those shoes also are like, no, it'll always be 60. It's not like it breaks in more than that, unfortunately, you know, which I think I've always heard people talk about that with leather boots. Leather boots suck at the first, but they basically kind of like mend perfectly to your foot as well. To where like if anyone else puts their foot in there, they're always like, what the fuck? It's all weird. Because it's completely shaped to your foot, etc. Yeah, the sun was rising once I got home, so it's actually going to still be dark, especially as we're still just getting into autumn, and the sunlight will be short. Yeah, but I forgot. Yeah, we're going to get into winter pretty soon here. Have you purchased blackout curtains to make your life a little bit less hellish? I have 3 separate days off, assuming my schedule remains consistent, but it's 15 to 0.25 an hour. That's actually pretty good, yeah. It's like a couple dollars. I think in Canada, I think our minimum wage is I think it jumped up to $16 dollars at this point. But yeah, $16 an hour for Canada. But also, our Canadian dollar is significantly less than your guys's, so for you it probably is actually more. At least Canadian dollars conversion wise. Lunch break are unpaid and mandatory 30 minutes. So to be more accurate, I'll be having 5.5 hour per shift. That seems reasonable. That seems actually really reasonable. Although I will say, I don't know, man. As much as I really like unions and stuff, I hate mandatory shit. that's why to me, I don't know. A part of me wonders, because I think that job sounds like really nice for what I would want to do, which is like a job where I can do it, but I'd have disposable time in which I can invest in the thing that my dream, building this channels and streaming and building an audience and all that stuff. But I'm also a person that has like the brain that says like go. So like I like, even when I'm doing jobs with my dad, who were putting up a sign or something on a giant building or something, I still have the urge to like maintain my pace or whatever it is. So like when someone says you have to stop, and I'm like, I'm almost done, they're like, no, it's lunchtime, you have to stop. So I'm like, okay. So then I eat a quick meal, I have a sandwich, it's done, it takes maybe 10 minutes. I'm like, okay. And then I'm listening to podcasts, I'm in a groove, I want to go back and work. They're like, wait, no, you can't, and do that. It also sucks that, to me, I wish it was measured on, and I know it could easily get corrupted by people doing this, but I wish businesses were measured on a metric system of like how quickly and efficiently you can get done, and then you'll get paid. So if I'm working hard, if I'm focused, if I'm getting stuff done, I make the same amount as the guy who's doing it slower, and getting paid and having to stay longer, etc. So I don't think either should be valued. I think it's okay to have people who work slower. Maybe they're even better because they're the kind of person that can work slow enough to where they make minimal mistakes. But also maybe sometimes you're in like hyperdrive mode because people keep buying fucking toilet paper off the goddamn shelves, and you need the guy that goes, I'll fucking run this all day. I'll do this all the time. I'll expend my energy. I'll burn myself out. Hell, I'll sleep better tonight if I do. That kind of thing. Like, so I think both should be accounted for. But I think that's the one issue with some of the other businesses that I love, which is also why I think I'd rather run my own business, because at least then I could validate the strictness of go, I guess, but that's also way more complicated than otherwise, Fluff says, yeah, I need better shoes with arch support, but slip resistance soles will be an ideal. I always wonder how much how slip resistant that actually is. I'm sure it is, but I wonder if it's going to be enough to, because in your position, someone could there could be olive oil that breaks. I don't know how slip resistant olive oil could be, but that's probably a minute scenario. It's more likely that someone will mop and you'll accidentally slip, and you don't want to pull something. So it's probably smart. Well, the thing it says, normally I opt for a better sole, but I did try for a better sole one time, and it was okay. That's been my experience all the time. Whenever I try better soles, it's always like, didn't really feel like it fixed the problem, and they think, is it just my feet? But then after having bought this whole new shoe, I feel like, nah, it's the shoe. Unfortunately, it is like the construction of the entire thing, the way it's distributed, etc. And it's funny because it's like the most comfiest long form shoe is the hilarious classic Skechers white dad shoe, essentially. Like whenever somebody wears it, you're like, oh, it's a dad shoe. It's the one that like every dad who's like over it, he doesn't need to prove anything anymore. He's like, I'm just being cozy and efficient, baby. And that's the shoe that they wear. Also, Lone Snicket says, also Grin, what anime you watching tonight? We're gonna see if I can watch anything. because I have to exercise, and then I have to eat, and then I got a little bit of time. But also, tomorrow, I'm gonna probably have less time, because if we're going on a drive and all that stuff anyways. But what do you call it? It's gonna be the one that I really wanted to watch for like months now. It's the spider dragon waifu one. It's like a guy gets isekai and he doesn't have a voice. There's like, he meets like this pig woman in like a desert, and he like just fucking obliterates these bad guys or this monster, and this pig woman is like, and it's disgusting, I'm sorry to be mean, but it's like literally like it's not like a pig hybrid. It's like, no, it's a full woman. And it's like the worst case scenario for like a mermaid and a fish. But it's not like it's one half or the other half. It's like, no, it has like a skeleton of a human, but the flesh and the meaty chunky bits is a pig. So it's just like, like reincarnated as a slime, like the ogre or the orcs or whatever they're called in that thing. Yeah, they're like that, like whole on pig. Anyways, so he meets this like pig in the middle of a desert, and he like absolutely blitzkriegs this monster. And she's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. So already I have hopes for the show to be kind of like a grounded, realistic, not realistic, but like, I feel like in anime, nobody reacts to what's actually happening in the world. Like, somebody blitzkriegs an army and people are like, he's kind of crazy, isn't he? And not, let's dissolve all of our empires and go behind this guy. Why does not every single person that is lacking power, like peasants and shit, go to the guy and say, hey, can I just hang out behind you maybe? Like, wherever you're setting up, you know? And I think this is the show that's going to be that. In fact, I think that's largely a part of the, like, it's also like a slime, reincarnated slime, where that has an economic element to it of like building a base and all that stuff, which seems fun. So I have very high hopes for it. It's called like, I can never say the name because it's not the classic like reincarnates a slime. It's some sort of Tasayake, some bullshit thing. I can't wrap my head around. It's already hard. English is already hard enough for me. Start working on the queue. Yeah, that one's more working on the pleasure. I watched the 2 anime that I wanted to watch, and they're good, but they're not like fucking home runs where I think this one will be. I'll be sad if it's okay. I'll be sad. I don't have too high of expectations for it, but I do kind of crave the kind of more grounded isekai stuff that I haven't watched in a hot minute. Love says, I have good insoles inserts, a doctor schools stuff, but it doesn't prevent my arches from aching and pierces through my pain relief pills. Yeah, man. Fluff, take it from my parent, me and Lone, take it both. I feel like it's the shoe. It's usually the shoe. And again, I feel like, but no one's gonna see you. Get them fucking big old white Skechers shoes that are dad shoes. Or you do what I just did. I basically just Googled in like shoes for standing all day, and it was like one of the first results is like that, or clogs. It's like basically like a really comforted shoe, but it has a big ass toe box and looks like a clog. But yeah, I don't submit the form to join the union, but legally I'm supposed to have 1 meal break in the middle of my shift, with 2 to 10 minute break between the start at lunch and the lunch and its shift. Yeah, I would rather have. I know you're like. 100% makes sense what you're saying. Like it's built into the system itself. Countries or not necessarily countries, but what's it called? States. State by basically, I believe you're in America somewhere. So yeah, but I was gonna say, to me, I'd rather have like maybe like 10-minute breaks rather than the lunch that's 30 minutes. Like I'd rather have a 10-minute lunch, maybe a 15-minute lunch, and then have whatever time left over to kind of take a minute if you're like you were grinding and you had to stop and you're like, okay, let me try to collect myself again because I went a little hard in the paint. And yeah, so with a 6 hours to 10-minute break at the 5.5 mark, lunch is 3 hour, or lunch is at 3 hours in, 2 hour break at, yeah, it seems like it actually, that seems great. It sounds like a nice little punchline. Yeah, me and my dad and me are both weird in that sense, where like we're both on a job and I don't want to stop because to me I just want to get it done. Is the best way I can describe it. So we're both just like be in a state of constant motion for 6 hours, or for like, what is it? We wake up at 8 and we leave at 7 for some of the jobs we do, which is quite a long stretch, at least for me. Waking up at that and doing that. And yeah, and being in a state of constant. Also, it's like the weird shit in jobs that you'll never know that has such a depletion aspect of it is like being on a ladder. You think like being on a ladder, like you're not even moving, you're standing still on a ladder. If there's something about it where like it's weird ground to stand on, it like holds your foot like this, like where you crunch over a little bit, and that just has enough fucky weirdness to make everything ache and hurt, and you're like feel like you don't realize it, but your core is firing to keep yourself stable because you're not just standing perfectly straight on a ladder. I'm working on a giant semi truck, essentially putting up a decal, which is a piece of plastic, and sticking it on there essentially, and yeah, so those things weirdly have like an effect on you. You know what I mean? Like even just the notion of like, I always find it shocking how extraordinarily sweaty I get when cleaning, just doing that, because it's just such a repetitious action with awkward angles. I don't do it enough to like develop efficiency in it to where I'm like, let's not hyperextend my back and reach. Let's keep ourselves in center of gravity. Let's walk forward and grab it. Let's get knee pads if we're on our knees, just crouching down, grabbing shit, or stacking stuff on shelves, stuff like that. Lone Ticket says, I said I was going to watch some anime tonight, but I always enjoy hearing what anime you going to watch. Is that misread it? Is that what he said? Oh, shit, sorry. Also, gonna watch some anime tonight. Oh, so I don't take too much responsibility from that. The stream title is, what is it called? I named it some bullshit with anime that I thought was relevant. Let's see. Did I fuck up? Let's see. Yeah, new anime. So I thought you were like, what's like going off of the title? What anime are you gonna watch? So I was like, oh, I will not take responsibility for misunderstanding that one. That one for me, the lines could connect essentially. What's good, Lycanthrope? It's been a hot minute, Lycanthrope. What's going on? Oh, dogs be barking. People be here. What the fuck was that? So much water just splashed everywhere. What anime are you gonna choose, Lone Syndicate? Well, so a furious roar of barks echo around us. Let us hear it. What anime are you starting? Decide now. Ooh, Fluff says, the breaks are time. Sorry, the breaks are paid time. Oh, that's great. But the lunch isn't, gotcha. So it's only the mandatory 30-minute for lunch that prevents a full 6 hours, but there's fine. But they're fine with me. Oh, it's fine by me. This will be more than sufficient as a part-time. God damn it! More efficient as a part-time job. Pay is solid, and I'll be able to be alleviate upcoming rent just in time, and after I should be able to keep most of my income for myself. Yeah, man. Again, I one thing I desperately don't want it to sound like. This seems like a fucking amazing thing, an amazing choice, a wonderful journey, at the very least of a life experience thing, and to understand, have a proclivity to understand what, if this is perfectly content with you and you're happy and you're easy breezy, or if you're like, I want more of this. It usually happens probably within 2 years that you'll find if you want more than that. But regardless, even just having to, like, there's certain things that I think certain businesses look for, which is like, have you done a job in which requires you to basically get proficient or learn how to sequence in some way. And I actually kind of worry for that with the job that I do, which is there's basically signs and decals and stuff like that. But it's not like, I don't think, like, if you go to an employer and you basically, like, I worked at a store in which I worked behind the scenes, basically stocking shelves, unloading pallet crates, stuff like that, and working within a team and a system and a structure that kind of facilitates all that. I did the 2 weeks course and I killed it. I didn't have any issues, whatever, that kind of thing. I think that's something that people can understand. The life of a person who puts up signs on giant buildings, or puts decals on cars, or mass produces signs, no one has the baseline understanding what that would be. It's like an X-Acto knife, being on a work table for like fucking long periods of time, being on jobs, like doing nothing and then doing so much all at once, essentially. So yeah, but to me, I think that's something that's a really good strength in that regard. Same thing with like people who work at McDonald's and whatnot. That like people can easily, businesses can understand what you've basically done. I think personally, doing the whole working within a behind the scenes stocking shelves and working the night shift, these are all things I think gives you different level of that kind of thing. What is it called? Reassurance that you can handle not only uncomfortability with working at a night shift, but also being able to work in a system, I guess. I think that's the biggest thing when you work for, I think 90% of the future is going to be that, working in corporation and system type things, where you basically are going to get 2 weeks infotainment course, and then you basically are slaughtered in as a cog in the various machines until AI takes us all over, baby. Fluff says, but anyways, I'm already clicking with my coworker. Sorry, I believe 2 of them are brothers, and assured me that they're able to handle the workload. And San holds down the fort long before I started. They apparently appreciate my persistence, and my trainer essentially praised my good work for what I could get done. I faced around 3 aisles, which will be more expected standard. Yeah, no, I think everyone's probably, again, to me, I think it's absolutely, again, perfectly fine. I think when you work in a system like that, it's just about like I think the worst case scenario is when somebody goes into the those kinds of businesses and then like shits the bed, essentially, just kind of goes in there with the expectation this is like low effort, low minimum, I'm not gonna care, I'm not gonna try, and they push that to the extreme, and I always hate that shit. It makes me fucking mad. But yeah, I think with the fact that they see that you're willing to suffer to like even just maintain some work effort would be way more than other people who don't do that. People who are just like, oh, my feet are hurting, I'm gonna stop. Oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna tell me that I'm not gonna do? My feet are hurting. Do you want me to go talk to the boss and say that you're forcing me to work on my feet? Like, there are people who would do that. I don't know how far they would get. I don't know how many people would want to hire them, but yeah. Like the rope says, working like a slave, family time when Rinzy and repeat. I see. Like the rope says, I'm working like a slave and hanging out with family time or having family time. That's at least nice. Kids change your life, but yeah, man. Like I would love to be a father one day, but at the same time, I'm also like, I feels like it is, at least my perception of this, which may be incorrect. I think when you have kids, you should kind of sacrifice your dream to some extent, to most extent, to like 80% of an extent. You could like get proficient. You could still train for when they get to college. You're like, I'm here, bitch. I'm planning on being the world's best photographer. Fucking let's go. But until then, I do feel like as a parent, my perception of when I have kids, I no longer live my life for me anymore. You know what I mean? I gotta understand how to teach this person. I have to pass down information. I want to create a good human being. I gotta support them in their future. Everything. It also seems like everything biologically is in that as well. So yeah, yeah. I'm under the impression that you gotta get after it right now, because eventually you want to have kids and you want to make sure you get some shit set in place before things happen. Fluff says, thankfully, the back room is fairly small, and one of the aisles I'll be assigned to going forward is a pet food fun. Oh, it's awesome. You meet doggos, maybe. Well, not probably. Ooh, there might be pee and shit in your aisle. That's left a little rough, but still, which looking very. Yeah, I was going to say also, yeah, it's probably best actually. I don't know why. I'd rather stock cans than like bags of rice or some shit, or boxes, because boxes will fall over. Sometimes those fucking stupid cereal boxes are like thin as fuck, and I feel like that'd be a pain in the ass. You'll stack them and they'll be like, ooh, fuck this. They'll just fall right off the goddamn shelf. Which looks very manageable and not bad as other friends had warned me about. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different. I've also, like, stacking canned food is also probably heavier to some extent, but yeah, but there are also dog bags that are kind of heavy as well. So, like a big ass dog food bag, it can be kind of heavy. Think of it as like sandbag training. Essentially, get fucking swole as fuck. Real life strength. It's a lax job where we work work it steady. Yeah. It's also one of the things I don't see, like, out of all the things that could be automated away from or something like that, I don't see how that could be automated really away from. It just seems like there's a lot of variables. You were like, there's arguable like cashiers that could have some sort of like touchpad innovation, but the person who's making sure shelves or food is located in a way that people can easily access them, that makes sense. You know what I mean? I also feel like they will probably go into an age where like you literally just have an order of food or like bags where you just go up to a line and say, this is my code. Cool. Then they would hand you like a pre-packaged bag that you could just take and leave. You know what I mean? I feel like that's also the future, because you also don't want to ship food to your house, especially if it's like meats. Although maybe that's just the butcher. It's interesting how the future and technology will shift everything around. Or think about that. and I'll get a happy, enjoy, distract lack of interaction with customers or too many higher ups. Yeah, Fluff, have you just heard so many horror stories like me about like working in any sort of store thing that you're like any sort of customer service apparently just like nah, like I'm good. I'm good. I don't need this. Or is it because maybe you're an introvert by heart and that's an element that you need to consider as well? Because I feel like that's something that's huge. I think it's one of the things that's hard for people to describe about like the level of what a severe introvert can be to some extent of like, and maybe there's an argument for being cauterized. I was in school for, what is it, like when I got to high school, I was in 3 years and I never felt a shift in terms of like me getting more energy or me getting less depleted by being around people so much. You know what I mean? So that's probably like a premier job for introverts. Also, you guys, it's like a night thing too. So I feel like they correlate. Night people tend to be introverts as well. Lone Syndicate says, it's a choice between the one you mentioned, okay, or Future Diaries. Or Lycro's Recoil? Watch the one with me so I can have someone to talk about with. But also, I don't know, man. Future Diaries is really good. If you want to, I would say Future Diaries for like another week because we want to get closer to Halloween for more of a kind of a, not really spoopy. It's more of like a, I feel like it has the right tone for Halloween. Well, some people like genuine terror, but I feel like that show is more of like a thriller, I guess. And I always prefer like thriller with interest. And I think that's Future Diaries. That'd be my suggestion. But yeah. Also, do you guys hear about that show called Barbarian? It's like a horror movie. Apparently people are loving it. I'm not a horror fan, but it had really good marketing. I could appreciate that at least. The fellow fright crew seem really chill. That's so cute. Sorry, the fellow fright crew. Maybe it's men say night, but I like fright. Fright's fun. And did well on guiding and checking up on me regularly. Also, it felt oddly nostalgic to have a packed lunch like I was in high school. Yeah, man. That's one of the things it's interesting is like a lot when you look at schools and whatnot, it seems like a lot of school is trying to condition you to work in those types of situations as well, where it's just like, no, you just got to make sure you have enough baseline understanding to achieve the tasks in which you're governed to do. But also simultaneously, it's more of like you got to be at peace with the not excitement all the time. Like, some people really crave like, I need to get into sports because it's exciting. It's all this. But I think there's also there's a talent in being at peace with going through a simple movement, I guess. Even I shouldn't say simple movement. That makes it sound like it's not complicated what you're doing. It is, but you know what I mean. It's not as like writing like coding. You know, coding is fucking nuts. At least to me, as a person who has no conception of that. The pet aisle wouldn't be too bad, especially since our store hasn't been getting a resupply, a zeroed out cat food for months. Yeah, I would rather have cat food, I'd rather have canned food than dog food bags, because that's awkward weight. That's like very strange. Although, man, I feel like I would love that shit. The only thing, I feel like the job that Fluff's describing to me, into some regards, just the thing of like your job is to, here's a pallet full of resources, put it on a cart and go put it into the aisles, basically. I feel like I would love that, but I don't like the idea of like hours being determinative of the effort that you work, because I would much rather like fucking sweat, grind, fucking throw, like run around, not run around, but like quickly keep a great pace, dumping off dog food bags in an area, but then also make the same amount of money if I was able to complete the task and also not deviate from that thing. You know what I mean? So yeah. And Lone Singer says, all right, bet I shall watch that one with you. Let's go tonight. I'll try to chip away at it. We'll see. Hopefully I can get to it. And the large bag. Also, Lone Singer, how's the workouts going, by the way? I wanted to ask you about that. How are you holding up? I know both these probably sleep by now, but yeah. And the large bags are only like 15 of one on one side of the aisle, so it will be simple stuff. A lot of latter aisles consist of general merchandise and vendor goods that fall out of the department, so we don't have to touch it or throwing it facing. Gotcha, it makes sense. So not too crazy things. I'm thinking like Costco bags where you get like a fucking giant dog food bag. I guess if it's, yeah, I think I'm fucking up. I think I'm thinking of like a giant Costco like dog food bag, which is like a giant sandbag almost. But yeah, no, if I get most dog food bags, like especially dog toys and whatnot, in that aisle that we have a dog store in our town, which I went to at some point, and it's like most dog food bags are like this big, like they're to your head to your maybe stomach, height wise. Great reference point, babies. Fluff says fright, like, oh, freight. Sorry, I thought you said freight. Yeah, makes sense. Again, I've never seen the word freight written down. That makes sense. Freight, like cargo, not fright. Yeah. As you say, I got Halloween on the brain. You know what I'm saying? But we might be that for Halloween. I was about to say, I thought it was like a quick pun on like, you know, because it's Halloween. We're also like the night crew. You know what I mean? People, we're in the shadows, or the fright crew, or whatever. Oh shit. Also, they're brothers, so maybe they have some sort of stupid that's going on. They're indoctrinating you in. I'll never see customers, so no puppies from me. That's a little sad. It may get some. Well, I don't know. There gotta be a person who's there who's like a cleaner or whatnot, probably. But ladies and gentlemen, oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, we're 20 minutes over. I'm supposed to be working out, dude. You're supposed to tell me these things. I don't think we have anyone to raid, do we? You know what? I don't think. Well, let's see. If Luca's raid, we'll raid him. But I fucking keep clipping shit. God damn it. I also clipped the thing of me saying we're not raiding somebody. What a douche. Anyways, okay, we're gonna do this instead, ladies and gentlemen. We have a video right now. Also, I see that Luca basically streams in the morning, so I don't know if we'll ever be able to rate him. God damn it, that beautiful human being. Anyways, good conversations as always. Yeah, I know I thought we were under, not over. I thought we were like, is it 6:40? I didn't bring anything to talk about, so it's all on you guys. You guys did some heavy lifting. I appreciate that. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly for your time. There is a video over on Share GRINN, which I haven't uploaded a video to in months. So you want to go over there? There's also going to be a video over there tomorrow. So you want to go over there and just nudge the algorithm maybe and be like, hey, content. Actually, don't. If you're not a person who's going to watch it, don't subscribe or watch that channel at all. Please. I forgot that's a part of the system. Oh, my knees. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly for your time. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your night. I'm off to go exercise. You've been nothing but lovely. What's good, Sting? Sting says good night. Thank you for being here the whole time in the shadows, Sting. I appreciate you. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And go check out that video. Fluff says, I'm going to have to shop for the pants and well-built knee. Yeah, knee pads, man. That would be the first thing I would have thought. Because, yeah, something that people don't think about when stacking shelves. Also, I got sensitive knees. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. People can just be on their knees all day. I don't know. I'm not about it. My knees are not built for that anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Bye. Bye.